Kingdom.
To the top, I'ma make it. Niggas just can't take it. To the top, I'ma make 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 it. Niggas just can't take it.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is the end of the disastrous season that is known as the Brooklyn Nets. Got my man Chubbs, Rage, and the one and only Jay from BK. AJ will be here shortly. He's stuck in that beautiful New York, New Jersey traffic. Yeah, man, there is a lot to talk about. I'm sure AJ had a game plan, but I don't even know where to start, bro. Like, quite honestly, I don't even know where to start.
How about this? Let's break down Game 4, and then we'll just go off there. I feel like that's a good.
I know we didn't do a Game 4. Yeah,
you never did a Game 4 stream. Yeah, let's just start there. Let's just start there.
I know. Yeah. So go for it, man. Kick it off. AJ will be here shortly.
Yeah, no. Game 4 is nothing. Like, before we went on, I said it best. If this game didn't motivate the team to play harder or smell blood in the water, like, we didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, period. Like, for a guy to be out that you've game planned for so hard that you would let Tobias Harris cook, you let Tyrese Maxey cook you all series, and then to not smell blood in the water when that guy you schemed so hard for is not playing, you had no business being in the playoffs, point blank, period. It doesn't matter if you didn't have guys to guard him or not. If a guy that's very clearly, if he's out, increases your chances of winning, and you don't win that game, that we had no business being there in the first place. And that's just how I see it. Like, there's no other way to, like, analyze it or chop it up, pretty much.
You know what? To be honest, and Rage, Jay, hop in here whenever you want. Like, I know Jay doesn't like it, but I was one of the people saying we getting swept, and Jay was very strong with that it was winnable, and I understand. And he explained his reasoning, but it
wasn't winnable. But I understand why you said that. I mean, I came out here and said I don't even think we get a game against the Cavs, and I kind of got proven wrong to a degree because they look way more beatable than the Sixers. But
they look good for a while, but they have just like
they had one all right game, but like that besides that one game, it was it. And it was a blowout. Every one of these games haven't really been that good except game 1.
No. And I mean, I'll give my reasoning. Like, we talked about it. We were talking a little bit before we started this. Like, it just, my side of like viewing that we were getting swept is because I took into consideration Coach Vaughn and all his inconsistencies with people that he puts in, giving playing time to people that we all could probably agree don't need to be in there. Constant like fumbling of late game calls, then just coupled with inconsistency of like players hitting shots. Like, yeah, like McCall's good, CJ's good, like, but at the same time, a lot of these players, DFS would be spotty. Spencer Dinwiddie, you didn't know which game you were going to get from time to time. Like, and it just like I knew going into the series that you really didn't have that. Like, yeah, you have some bucket getters, but you don't have guys like that are going to be consistently there. Like you got rid of your consistent guys that you can go to a bucket in any situation at any time during the game, and most of the time they're going to succeed. And it's like I'm looking at the current roster. As much as I like some of these guys, I'm just like, it's going to be very spotty, and it's like some of these guys are going to get hot, but by and large, I feel like you're just waiting to see who steps up. And it's like this whole series, like we had so many open looks that we just couldn't capitalize on them. Like I was just waiting. We would have a quarter here, a quarter there where we would look good. But by and large, you didn't have like too many of those to really consistently put them on them. Like, like when this team's hot and they're hitting their wide open three. I mean, literally, let's be honest. This was a 3-point playoffs for us. Like I'd love to see the stat cipher. I don't know if you're there, but like, I felt like when I was watching the games and I would turn and I'd be doing something else, and then I'd turn back, we'd shoot a three, and then I'd have to do something with my kids. I'd turn back, we'd be shoot. Like I literally felt like all we did was shoot threes, like every possession. Even though that's not true, that's what it felt like watching. Like you had no inside game.
We had zero game plan outside of hit the open man and pray he
makes it. But you know what as well? We also have lived by the three, like the whole ever since we got all of these guys, we've had the same approach to every game, just kind of live by the three. And we've seen games where you were hitting some of your threes and you would win. Like when we came back against the Rockets, we were just hitting our threes and we were able to win that game. But then you have games like the Bulls where we lost by 40 because no one could hit a 3-pointer. And that eventually, like we had games where we actually shot okay, like game one or whatever. But there was a lot of times where we would, like Saint mentioned, where we just weren't capitalizing. And honestly, in like the regular season and the second half of the regular season, we had more games where we weren't hitting. And when our threes weren't hitting, we didn't have like another resort. So that's why like the offense would completely not be good, because if your threes aren't hitting, what were the Nets going to do? There wasn't anything for that because we weren't going in the paint. We weren't shooting a lot of mid-range shots. You know, it was just kind of the 3-pointer, just kind of waiting for something to hit.
But that's a bad coaching mentality and game 3 really, really stood out with that mentality, because Embiid got his 5th foul and we didn't attack at all. And then it was game 3 or 4. Philly got their 4th foul, which put us in the bonus. I think it was 7 minutes, 15 seconds or 7 minutes, 45 seconds.
It was about 7 minutes. Yeah.
It was the third quarter. We did not shoot a free throw for the rest of the third quarter. so it's like, yo, what are you doing? I'm not even talking about the game that Embiid didn't play. Even when he did play, we would not attack the basket. That's a flawed game plan. Your game plan should be catered, not a one-size-fits-all. It should be what the defense is giving you to a certain extent. And we didn't do that. When they had no shot blocker in the game, we still were out there popping threes. When Embiid had 5 fouls, we still weren't attacking him or the rim. It's like, come on, man. You got to do better than that. And let me also add, this is where I disagree with everyone who says we played good defense in that series. We did not play good defense in that series, and I'm going to tell you why. And this goes back to Saint, you're right. I thought we were going to win the series. I thought we were going to win in 6. The number one reason.
Be like, oh, look at you, Jay. I'm just saying, like we had different.
Oh no. Yeah. No. I'm cool with that. Yeah. The reasoning behind me thinking we were going to win in 6, because the main advantage that we had was our speed.
Yep.
And as long as we ran them, an older team who starts Anthony Leon Tucker Jr., as long as we ran them, because we have young guys, Quitter James, who's not running up and down the court, we would have been better on offense. We ran in no games. We did not run at all. That's why our defense wasn't good. Philly was looking for a slow series. Yeah. Have you watched Quitter James play? He grounds and pounds. He doesn't try to run.
And who would the only guys that come to mind, obviously, that I think could run is obviously Maxey. I think Melton's got some speed. Tobias Harris has shown that he could probably run better than the others, but they themselves only had a couple players on their team that could probably keep up with the speed and the tempo. But a majority of the guys were either older, slower, and just not built like that.
That's what Doc Rivers used to his advantage. So saying we had good defense, no. Philly wanted it to be low scoring. And you know why they wanted it to be lower scoring? Because in the half court, I would argue argue with me if you want, they had the two best players on the court in the half court. In the slowdown half court game, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey were the two best players.
But no,
So
I
they
agree
could beat
with
us
that.
in the half court.
I agree
We
with
could
that.
not beat them in a half court game.
No.
Our advantage was outrunning them, and we did not. So it wasn't our defense was great. I'm going to disagree with that. Philly wanted to slow it down, and they did it.
I wouldn't say it was terrible, though. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It wasn't like out, like, oh my god, it was so amazing, but it was something. At least you could look at the game and say, like we've done in past series and past games, where we're like, where's the defense? Like, at least that's what we weren't saying. But I agree with what you're saying. Real quick, shout out to DC. Appreciate the super chat. She said, for whatever reason, they scared of the paint with no Joel Embiid. 33 was eaten when they got him the ball. Also, no Day. Why? Clax was the only big. To me, the biggest thing that I thought and I said during that series, especially in the last game, was that when you're putting in play, when you have players on your bench that could impact and potentially change the game and the series, but you think it's good to stick with Patty Mills, Joe Harris, who literally gave you nothing the whole series. Patty Mills only played, 8-9 games in 2 months? And you don't see potentially Sumner who could take it to the rack. You don't see Cam Thomas really at all. You don't even see Day to give Clax. Like, he wanted to live by this small ball thing. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to live by small ball, why didn't you run? Like, he put small ball lineups in, but they didn't run. And it was like you just living and dying by that three. And that was one of the other reasons that I brought up why we would probably get swept is you're literally projecting that you're going to go out there and live and die by the three, play the best defense you can, and hope shots fall down. Because you literally came out after game one and said exactly that. We just need to do better what didn't work the day before. We had open shots. They just didn't fall down. Like, so you, again, just pretty much exposed your whole game plan for the series and kept saying the same thing after every game. So what is going to happen? Like, I don't know why Day didn't get a little bit of a breather, like, to help Clax out, or maybe just if you were going to play Embiid the way you did. I mean,
well, let me ask this for every, and I don't know who asked the question. I didn't.
That was
catch the
DC.
name that you said.
Callaway.
DC, and this is not this. Oh, DeJour. This is just about DeJour asking, because other people may be asking that, right? For everyone who's been a Sean Marks apologist, this is where, and I did not listen to what they did yesterday, even though I heard it was a shit show. Did anyone ask him why he never filled the big man void? And that goes back to before the season when he volunteered, we are going with Day as our backup center. And if we see the need for a big man during the season, we'll address it then. He said that before the season. he said that. You see, that's some things, and this is something personal also. When someone says something to you, you're not wrong if you bring back up to them what they have said. He said that. So any reporter should have asked him before the season, over 6 months ago, you said that you would address the big man or lack of big man problem that we have. Why did you not? And if you don't think big man was a problem, why didn't they play in the series against Joel Embiid? You said with your actions that we did not have a backup big man. When you have Royce O'Neal guarding Joel Embiid, who comes up to Joel Embiid's chest, you're admitting we don't have a big man. But you said before the season that if it was a problem, you would address it. You did not address it. Why not?
Yeah.
Small ball doesn't win in the NBA unless you have it works for Golden State, because Golden State has a system and they don't have to worry about getting every rebound because they have shooters who actually hit shots when the game matters. We don't.
Rage. You there, Rage?
Yeah.
Of all the stuff that you're hearing, stuff that Jay just said, but
I like when we mentioned, well, the center problem has been an issue for, well, God knows how long. And like Jay mentioned, we all remember that after we lost in the Celtics series, he mentioned, "Oh, we're going to address the big man problem. We're going to address the big man problem." We didn't address the big man problem, and we didn't even play Day'Ron Sharpe like that throughout the year. It took until the second half of the year to play Day a little bit, and then you went into the 76ers series and didn't play him at all. It's interesting. And it's like, if you were in like Jay, you're going to go small ball, at least have a system. That's what Golden State did. But our system is just shoot threes. Don't take advantage of the smaller guy. And a lot of the times you look at coaching. And it's and everything we do is predictable. We get out hustled by Paul Reed, we get out hustled by PJ Tucker, we get out hustled by everyone. And it's a huge problem. And even with another center, you're still probably going to get out hustled because that's just the team. We always get out hustled, but you still need to get another center. I don't understand if we go into this offseason without addressing the center problem. I don't know what to say.
Well, I don't even know how to transition this, but I mean, listen, the series in itself, I think we've talked about it between the other streams and what we saw. I mean, it's like it's all right there. There's really no scientific breakdown of like why we lost. It's pretty simple. I think it's a combination of them having some better players, combination of bad coaching, players being inconsistent. It just, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for this, but I do question maybe where some of the players' heads were at, maybe some effort. Sometimes it did feel like they just wanted the series to be over because I don't know. That's just the vibe I got. Sometimes it just felt like they knew they could only go so far. You've heard all of the players repeatedly say, hey, we're blending 4 different teams together, right? Or 4 different teams to go out there and play a game, like play and finish out the season. So almost they even seem to have the attitude of like, this is like Mission Impossible a little bit. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Shout out.
One thing I'll mention real quick is, and I always thought, like, I knew we weren't going to win, but and obviously you've been saying the whole time that prepare to be swept. I don't see us winning a game, and I didn't really see us winning either. But the problem is the way we lose these games and how easy they were to win. When James Harden goes out, you should be able to win that game. But they were able to play with a little bit more passion, and we didn't have any passion that whole game, or this whole series. And then you go into game 4, there's no Joel Embiid, and you still lose. Your approach is still the same the whole series. It's just the way you lose these games, especially in game 3, because we were up by like 5, like a minute and a half remaining, and there was nothing. It was just going to Spencer Dinwiddie, hoping hoping ISO would work with Spencer Dinwiddie, and the approach has been the same throughout years ever since we had Steve Nash, when we would just go to Kevin Durant. It's just now the difference from Steve Nash to Jacque Vaughn and this team from when we had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, is that instead of ISOing with Kevin Durant, we ISO with Spencer Dinwiddie. Why?
Well, and speaking of that, shout out to DC again. She's like, we also still need a point guard. Dinwiddie ain't it. I saw like Dinwiddie, like
Ryan Rupert, ladies and gentlemen, he's gonna be right there. He's gonna be right.
Dinwiddie was like a mix of like Harden, old ISO ball. Like it just was. Like he had his flashes and moments where I felt like he played the way I wanted him to, in the sense of where he was more of a ball distributor and he wasn't forcing shots up or dribbling half the shot clock away, where he was looking to get like Macau going. He was looking to get CJ going, and it worked. And then he would attack at certain times, which is what you need, right? Because he still is a good attacking guard, right? Like and Jay always says, like, he's not a point guard. He's like a shooting guard. Like,
He's like Edmund Sumner. He's a combo guard, scoring guard.
Like he had his moments in games where he was what you needed him to be, but it always did seem to like it would resort to that what you just explained as far as how he would play. And then for me, like I hate watching a player just spend so much energy. Like, yeah, I get it. You're getting fouled. You're not getting your calls. I'm sure that's frustrating as shit. But it's kind of like how like Nick Claxton for a while, where it was like he would dunk and he would celebrate for like 20 seconds, like while the rest of the team and the other team are down at the other end. And everybody's like, get your ass back there. Like Kevin Durant used to yell at him. Kyrie used to yell at him. And it's like sometimes I would see Dinwiddie get so caught up in his head about it took him out of the game in some ways because he was more concerned about arguing or being upset about his fouls. Even though I get the frustration that you've seen how shitty the refs have been this year and the inconsistencies, like I gotta admit, like that's gotta be frustrating as a player, especially when you see somebody then go down, barely get breathed on, and get to go to the line like 10 times a game. And I said to Jay before, like I was concerned about Dinwiddie in the playoffs, and Jay was right about saying like, listen, he's been there before, so he knows what it takes. But and I don't want to say this like crap with him before he started talking shit with Kuz before the playoff series like affected his play. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, that definitely affected his play.
I know. Well, we could. I mean, I think people have different takes on that. You could totally share it, but it's like the way I looked at it was like, yo, don't go talking a bunch of big shit that you're this, and then go out and just lay an egg for the series. Like,
I mean, he's right.
I don't even know if
superstars. He's the third star on the championship team. W. Dinwiddie. What?
I'm not even going to make the claim that situation got in his head, and that's why he played bad. I think Dinwiddie just Dinwiddie, and his game didn't compute. And then it's like you mix in with Coach Vaughn and whatever game plan they were doing, like he just didn't have it, and it didn't look good.
And I also think that it's like we also are a team that puts a bunch of players in a situation where they like really have never been in. Spencer Dinwiddie is not a starting point guard or a point guard really at all. He's a shooting guard. And we expect him to be able to run the whole offense and it work. It's not going to work. You're never going to win a series when Spencer Dinwiddie's your starting point guard. And that's not a knock at Spencer Dinwiddie at all. He's just not that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you got to address that problem. But that's always been an issue. We've never had when was the last time we had a true point guard?
James.
We really haven't.
James.
Literally, James.
There we go. That was it.
The last time.
No, but SD is more of a change of pace guard. So whoever your and I'm not saying he's not a starter, but whoever your starting point guard is, the starting point guard will get everybody into position, run the offense, what have you.
Right.
SD is more of a change of pace type of guy who then puts the defense on the heels because he's consistently going downhill. Where the starting point guard, that's not necessarily what they're doing. They're looking to get other people involved. And let me add on something because Rage reminded me of something. And I'm not posting bail for SD. This is where when I understand, and people are going to say it's not an excuse. It is an excuse where you're putting all these, I don't know where they got 4 teams from, but you're putting all of these new players together. You had more than 2 months to the playoffs. What sets did they practice between the trades and the playoffs? And the reason why I asked that, and I don't think I said this on stream when I was on a few times during the season, especially not after the trade. I know I said this on Spaces. Since the trade, they literally stopped doing hand signals for what plays were being run when they came up the floor. They were just playing like it was out in the park on Saturday morning. They were not running any plays. Before that, Ben was coming up court and you would see him flash a number or a hand signal. Number 2 in Dallas was coming up court. You'd see him flash number or a hand signal of what play was being run. They did not do that in the second half. And in this Philly series, anybody wants to go back and watch it, I remember them doing it one time. It was Royce. It was in the third quarter of game 2. He was coming up the court. He flashed the hand signal. Other than that, they did not do it at all in the entire series. That's not professional sports. A guy who's traded from one team, and I'm watching baseball right now, a guy who's traded from a team to another team in baseball around the trade deadline in July or August, he learns the signs for the new team when he's traded to that team.
Yeah.
We had no hand signals. So whoever
Vaughn
was out
did
there
it one
at point
time
guard,
in the game. Vaughn did it one time in the last
cool.
game. No,
Hey,
I know.
So Saint,
But
that means,
that's what I was
that means
saying.
we have 2 total times that it was done in the Philly series.
I know. But that is
Pick
to
up
your
basketball?
point. Yeah. No, I agree, because even prior to this, like, I do remember before the trade, before Kyrie KD left, he was a lot more vocal in directing people to spots, doing things, and then it did seem like pickup basketball after the trade. It really did. And I wonder, like, I'm not sure I don't think the organization came out and said, hey, well, fuck it. We're just going to see what this happens. We'll fight as hard as we can, and whatever it is. Right. But it sure felt that way at times. Right.
No, but Saint, I'm not criticizing them if that's what it was.
Yeah.
After the trade, my criticism is that you knew, because the guys that we traded put us in position to make the playoffs, or at the very least, since the East wasn't that good, we would have been in the play-in game. You knew you had at least 2 months. People said Igor was an offensive genius. If that's the case, when the trades were made, the trade deadline passed, you knew these people were going to be on your team between February 9th and the end of the season. The offensive coaches should have put plays in place so that the week that we were off before the playoffs, you could at least teach and learn some of those to use in the series. We didn't.
I'd be curious to find out how much impact Igor was allowed to have on helping design the offense for pre-trade and after trade. I'd be really interested to know that, because you didn't ever really hear much about him. But a real quick couple things. Joel Brewer, thank you for the super chat. Time will. I think you love Brandon and Ben Simmons more than you love me. I think time will tell on that one. Shout out to DC again, just emptying her pocketbook today on the stream. Appreciate you. He got. I'm assuming she's saying.
He Dinwiddie guys complaining
from Luka. I don't know. That seems to be a wide. I've never seen more people. I gotta admit, like, because I am an old fart, and the amount of games that I've watched, I don't ever remember people complaining as much as I see today NBA players complaining, really, about everything. Like, literally, some players in this league, it's like every time they go down, they don't score, arms go up, they look at the ref, and it's like, come on, dude. Like, at some level, just play the damn game. Like,
yeah,
you're not gonna, like, yeah, you can stop at the end of the play and go up to the ref and talk to him and say, hey, number 24 keeps doing this. How are you not seeing that? And have that conversation. But to do it in the middle of a game constantly after every play at some point has to be a distraction.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of the game in a mental state, in my opinion. But
I'll say this really isn't. I wouldn't say it's a generational thing. Nobody likes a person that's just going to go up to the refs every fucking time because they don't get their way. Like I say, like, a lot of the times, if I'm a ref and I'll see someone like a John Morant just drive into the paint over and over and over again, and the defense moves it to where they just get bodies in the paint, and he expects a foul call every time, I'm not going to call it. Because at the end of the day, if you're still just going to drive in the paint multiple times and just expect a call, like, you're arguably putting your team at a disadvantage, especially if you're not converting your baskets. Like, I think that's what a lot of referees have, that mentality. On top of that, there's so many calls in the game that the referees don't call. Like, if they genuinely call what they are supposed to call, the game would be so much slower and different. Like, like it's a technical foul to have your shirt over untucked. Like I think the only person to ever really like spot that was Chris Paul, because Chris Paul's a weirdo. He's the only person to spot that. So there's just so many like little rules and stuff that just completely could ruin the game in a sense. So, like I said, I really don't like the complaining to fucking refs every call. I feel like he should just tone that shit down if he's still here in the off season.
Ooh, looks like AJ's here. I don't know if I should add him, but I'm adding him. The fearless leader is here.
But I'll say this since we transition. Sean Marks' press conference, for what it's worth, was pretty much the same as last year. It was so much the same as last year, you could just play the one he did last year, and it'll arguably the same one. In a sense, he said he wants to bring back the grit that Brooklyn has had over the last 6 years. And I'll just say this. If this offseason Sean Marks still has apologists or groupies, I don't know what to do for you. Because I guarantee you he's not getting anybody he just described in that press conference he just did.
Well, I can tell you some of the most staunch defenders. I got to admit, I'm impressed. Like, there's a few people that we used to argue with repeatedly about Sean Marks and the coaching staff. And, like, I was beyond impressed. Like, not beyond impressed, but it was a lot of them saw the light. Like, a lot of them really started seeing the light of, like, things that were suspect decisions. And it was like, I don't know how people don't look at it. Like, I don't know if you're, what up, AJ? I don't know if you're, like, there's still those people out there that blame Kyrie for everything, which is just, to me at this point, is just completely fucking stupid. I've always maintained that everybody kind of played a part. That's just how I view it, whether you agree with it or not. Oh, well, but I've always viewed it as a majority, like the front office and the coaching have a huge part. Kyrie played a part. I think the beginning when the two stars got here was handled wrong, which played a part. James Harden played a part. Like, there's so many little and then so many things outside of actual people's control, like injuries, like COVID hitting. Like, there's so many things that hit this team that you couldn't blame somebody. Yeah, you could get into debates about reactions and what you did afterwards, yada yada. Don't even want to go down that road, but it's like you've had a guy that's repeatedly said the same shit to you season after season of what the priorities are. And even if things keep changing for him, whether you trade this player, whether this comes up, it shouldn't change the fact that you still don't have a viable backup person to distribute the ball. And it shouldn't distract from the fact that you've sucked at rebounding and inside defense for a long time. Like, imagine if Claxton did not take the leap that he did this season. Imagine how bad our defense would be if we were watching year 1, year 2 Claxton, where he was still trying to figure it out, right? Like, nobody had complaints about his perimeter defense, right? But the inside is where it was like he needed to get comfortable. He needed to find his mojo inside. Like, imagine if Claxton didn't take the leap he did this year. Like, how bad our inside defense. Let me say this and that, because I'm going to disappear for a little bit and let AJ and you guys take over. But that to me is like, I don't know. That's unforgiving. Like, as a GM, I don't know how you repeatedly ignore those things. And then when you have opportunities to fill them, you give them to players that either are not good for it, are not really going to move the needle. You had multiple middle trade deadlines. You had multiple player exemptions. You've had multiple situations. And then you see other teams grab players that we've talked about for shit. Like Rui going to the Lakers. You look at what they got him for. My God, you look at other centers that they second round picks. It's like, and you make it sound like it was the hardest thing to do. And then you just look at other teams and you're like, look at what they just got for nothing.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't have done that. But anyways, I'm going to step out for a little bit. AJ, welcome. Good to see you. Hopefully Jay doesn't drop all the juicy shit while I'm gone.
Nah, but
I'll wait till you get back.
I'll be back in like 10, 15 minutes. So
Yo,
I'll be back.
Can I say off of what Chubbs was just saying though? And I really have a problem with people who talk about Brooklyn grit like Sean does. Chubbs, let me say there's a difference between last year's press conference and whatever he did yesterday. Last year's press conference, they waited, I think, 3 weeks before they did it. Which showed you it was a planned theatrical event because you ain't got to wait 3 weeks to give answers.
That's a fact. They did it ASAP this year, Jay. They did it like immediately after.
They didn't even make an announcement for it. They just did it.
Immediately after, yo.
Which shows you they real calculated. So I'll applaud them on that. But the part with people talking about Brooklyn grit. Now, this next part I'm going to say, people call her Crazy Kristen. Kristen is the person who volunteered this information. So quit being like, I wonder where he got that from. She said that she sees Sean Marks and his family by where she lives in Connecticut. And he comes into her restaurant in Connecticut. So he lives in Connecticut. He don't even live in Brooklyn. Can we stop talking about what Brooklyn grit is and you ain't from Brooklyn? And don't tell me what Brooklyn grit is if you moved to the gentrified Brooklyn. When you talk about Brooklyn grit, you talking about people who've walked the streets of Bed-Stuy.
Facts.
Before it was gentrified. You talking about people who walk the streets in Uncle Murder Voice, East New York. You talking about them. You talking about people who are in certain parts of Flossie, Canarsie, where the woo is. That's who you talking about in Bushwick, in neighborhoods like that. You ain't talking about these gentrified individuals. That's not Brooklyn grit. This latte, gluten-free, all of this stuff. That's who Sean's been getting. He's been getting all these gluten-free individuals. He ain't been getting nobody who's gritty. No.
He's getting the Williamsburg hippies, Jay. He's getting the Williamsburg hippies.
Williamsburg, Crotona Park, Astoria, grit. That ain't real, man.
I tweeted at somebody, I think it was yesterday, it may have been today, I don't remember, when I said that he's gotten one, maybe two people signed or traded for who are gritty. One person was Taurean Prince, and people don't want to acknowledge that. But Taurean Prince even showed you his grit when Gobert and Slow-Mo got into it.
Yeah. And
Gobert pushed Slow-Mo, and TP jumped up off that bench and pushed him immediately. Like, nah, man, He's about that action, even with his own teammates. And the second person who really, he didn't even sign him. He came in because I think it was the COVID year, was Iman Shumpert.
Oh, yeah, I remember those 10 days they gave Iman.
Yeah,
they gave him 10 days.
10 days the year before, and they did not sign him because his knee was messed up. And I'm pretty sure I said that on the stream, that his knee was messed up, and that's why they did not sign him. And nobody reported that. And then when they signed him again during the COVID year, he volunteered that his knee was messed up. So everybody who say I be making stuff up, how would I know that his knee was messed up and that they didn't sign him because of that? He's gritty, but he was never given one of those types of contracts. If you want to argue and say that he traded for somebody who's also gritty, but as soon as he said something that the team didn't like during the beginning of the 2018 season, I'm talking about Manimal, who's from Newark. So you already know he's about that life.
Yeah.
The minute he said something that they didn't like, they traded him.
Yeah.
They traded him immediately.
They're allergic to gritty, bro. They're allergic to gritty. Like,
he's gotten no gritty players.
He knows nothing about Brooklyn grit. Sean Marks knows nothing about Brooklyn grit, and I hate how he keeps saying it in press conferences. Like,
right.
Oh, I need nasty. I need. He says it every year. We need to get bigger. We need to get more nasty. We need more grit. He says the same shit every year, and we never do any of that shit in the off season, bro.
And let me clarify, because people think when we say real Brooklyn grit, we're talking about they need to be people from the area or they need to act like thugs. No, we're not saying that.
Yeah.
When we say Brooklyn grit, we talking about We will fuck you up if you try to play with us funny. Pause.
Yeah.
Like, don't like little shit like that. Like, imagine the Knicks in the 90s.
Yeah.
Or people who are scrappy.
Yeah.
Like Philadelphia has somebody who would fit that mold, and we talking about NBA players. We not talking about, and I'm gonna use Draymond as an example because Draymond is that type of player. We ain't talking about somebody who will punch their teammate in the face in practice. We not talking about doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
We talking about somebody who gets after it, like PJ Tucker, who gets all of the loose balls. That's the type of grit we don't have.
Rasheed Wallace, like guys that are
genuinely
Rasheed Wallace, like guys that are genuinely gritty on the court. Like they get on the court, you're not even gonna try to out hustle them. You're not even gonna try to out muscle anybody. Like it's just over if they get on the court.
Let me read some of the chat.
Ago when we had Reggie Evans, he was a gritty type player.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah. Would you see Quincy AC? Would you put him in that or nah?
I just thought about him too.
I would say yes, but Quincy AC really wasn't an NBA player, man.
Yeah, he wasn't.
No disrespect to him. He wasn't really an NBA player. We talking about somebody that can actually play.
Yeah,
he was just a TSI attempt.
Let me read some of what the chat is saying. Somebody said Bruce Brown was gritty. Daniel said they shop at Whole Foods. That's what he's talking about. The people that Sean Marks gets. Callaway said PJ Tucker is Brooklyn grit. Sean needs to shut the F up. What else people are saying? Kyrie had y'all in the playoffs. Harden overkill. Jared Allen was soft. Yeah, he was probably soft. He's
still soft, and he's showing that in the series versus the Knicks.
Oh my God! Do you see what Mitch Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein doing to him?
You saw how he got handled. That's tough.
He's making $100 million, man.
He's getting packed. Like Evan Mobley, I'll give you a pass because you're a sophomore. But Jared Allen, you're getting packed up by these guys on the Knicks, bro. Like, come on, fam. But yeah, I listened to some of what your guys are saying. I don't even want to talk about Game 4 because that shit was an embarrassment. I'm not even going to talk about that game. I'm just going to talk about the offseason.
Can I just jump in and say my number one takeaway from Game 4 was that they hate Cam Thomas.
Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to get into.
That's my number one takeaway. They hate Cam Thomas.
Because I was watching Bobby Marks' offseason preview, and I want to post here. I think he posted this. He basically was laying out the, he does a good job of the offseason previews. And the thing I didn't realize, he's the best at that, yo. He is.
He does it for every team, yo. He is making his money at ESPN.
I
know what he did for the Nets, but at ESPN,
yeah, I really love like his content, like the way he breaks everything down, like the salary caps and everything. Like, yeah. And one thing he said that I didn't really get is like he said we're only 10 mil under the salary cap. Like I thought we were a lot more under the salary cap. Like if we re-sign Cam, CJ, we have a chance of going over that. But he said there's certain tax. He said we will. He said there's certain tax aprons where you start getting penalized. I think it's the second tax apron. We'll be in the first, but I think the second tax apron is where all those those penalties start coming in. The draft picks, you can't do buyouts, and the new CBA.
Yes.
Yeah, he said the second tax apron is where that comes into fold, but we're going to be in the first tax apron if we give CJ his big money. But with the wings,
aren't we in it with his cap hold?
Oh, that might be. Yeah, I gotta look, but he just said we were 10 under, so I don't know if that means his contract doesn't come off the books this year, right? It stays on, or it's like I don't know what happens to the money when you're like a restricted free agent. Yeah, CJ, like what happens to his money?
He counts against the cap as a cap hold until he signs his new contract.
Okay, that makes sense then.
So it's whatever the cap hold number is.
So CJ, Seth's a free agent. Uda's a free agent, right? Now, the Cam Thomas thing is like because I saw an article today that I posted about teams might be interested in Cam, Dallas, Miami, and Portland. But the whole Cam Thomas thing, bro, it's getting kind of shaky because, like I said, this was very, very when you're putting Patty Mills in front of CT in the elimination game. I think Cash tweeted this out. Like that's scary, bro. That kind of means like they don't want you on the team. Like I don't know. It just you can't tell me the Nets believe in him and the Nets want him if they're not playing him in these crucial games.
And I thought it was interesting too because like a lot of times, the one time we did put in Cam Thomas, he actually put up solid minutes, and then there he was not there for the rest of the series. I didn't understand it, and it was like a lot of times there would be points where we needed a bucket, and it wouldn't hurt to just put him in and just see what would happen. But we never went to him, and that happened a lot during the season too. A lot of times we only went to Cam Thomas because everyone was hurt.
Yeah,
no one was playing.
That's what I'm saying. And now, and during the offseason, I'm thinking like he might be gone, and I'm not sure what the direction the Nets are going to go. Shout out to Cypher. He did a great article. It's like, do they believe in our young talent enough to trust in the young talent? And then we got 3 draft picks. So it's like, are you going to trust in our young talent and just develop, or are you going to just go for the star right away? And then I'm looking at the press conference, and Sean Marks is like, usually he does his scripted press mark, his scripted stuff. Oh, we're not in no rush. We're going to be do our due diligence.
We're going to address the center issue. He's right.
Yeah. Never do it. But I'll tell you all this, right? And with you saying address this young core, develop this young core, genuinely look at our young core players. That's David Duke, Day'Ron Sharpe, Cam Thomas. I believe what's Bull's name we got from that Miami G League team? Drew Smith.
And then the 3 draft picks, if we do draft those guys. Yeah.
But all the guys I just mentioned, none of them are in the starting lineup. Not even on the bench or a prominent bench role.
Yeah.
And then if you even want to go on the starting lineup, 26 is middle age. That's transitioning into late 20s. That ain't getting young no more. So we don't even really have a true young core.
Yeah.
And if they develop, they have to play. Like, you can't stunt your young core and then just play. Like, that's just not how you do it. That's just not how you do it.
And my thing is, like, if like I said, you either go in one or two directions. You either blow it up and you really have you draft a lot of players and you build up from there, or you try and get like Damian Lillard or whoever. You just try and figure that out, because if you have this team, if you stick with this team right now and you draft more guys, where do they fit in the rotation? And how do you figure out how they're going to get minutes and all that? Because none of them are going to deserve to really start unless, like, obviously they show some insane skill and practice.
Unless we find like a guy that's a sleeper in the draft.
But it's like, how are they even going to really find minutes? And like Chubb said, with our young guys, they can't even really find minutes. We don't even really have a young core like that. I mean, obviously you have Cam Thomas, you have Sharpe, but like that core can only that core is very. If that's our young core, we have one of the worst young cores in the league.
Yeah. Especially if you're not gonna play him for disciplinary issues, which I'm gonna just assume that's a disciplinary issue, because there's no reason you don't develop a guy like Cam Thomas. Yeah. There's just no way.
I think it's like with Cam Thomas, like I think he's very good, and we should develop him. But with the way we treat him, and obviously with the way that how he feels, I think it's better for both people, but for both parties to separate, because it's like, if you're not gonna play him when he shows he can play, and he wants to play, but he's obviously upset that he's not getting minutes, and you're gonna play Patty Mills over him, why is he still on the team?
Let me read this little excerpt from the article from what the alleged NBA insider said about Cam Thomas, and then I'm gonna let Jay cook. Oh wait, hold on. The super chats. Shout out to Callaway. We need Bobby back in the Nets front office, and then shout out to Yankees New York. Hey, Saint and Chubb, should the Brooklyn Nets take a look at Miles Bridges during the offseason? I don't think I think he's going to be in. I think they're keeping him. I'm pretty sure they're keeping him.
Yeah, I think that's Charlotte's not going
to. He just got off the suspension list. I think they're keeping him. But this is what the article said. It said the relationship with the Nets is a weird one, because they seem really reluctant to actually play him. Even after the trades, there is no question that the guy has talent, but they're worried about whether he has what it takes between the ears. Every time he gets one of those 30-point games, they're happy because the kid is good, but they're also like, oh no, this is going to blow up his ego. So that's kind of like the backstory of what they're saying is the reason Cam is not playing. But yeah, Jay, you can talk about CT, because I know you've been saying it all year, bro. Like, it's just the relationship with the Nets and CT is it's really toxic.
They've had this relationship since they drafted him.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why he dropped in the draft. And for everybody who kept lying to themselves and said that number 35 in the Phoenix, that he's the reason why they picked him,
Yeah.
you all have to use some common sense at a certain point. Do you really think that number 35 in Phoenix took the time out on a Thursday night to watch the NBA draft?
Yo, you gotta
Like-
get this guy.
Like, are you serious? The man was invited to the green room. They invite potential lottery picks to the green room.
Yeah.
He dropped in the draft. You think he was that number 35 in Phoenix when he was on our team, number 7 on our team? You think he was sitting at home watching the NBA draft and watching the guy slide, and then he called the Nets and said, "You got to pick him"? Y'all gotta use common sense, man. Like, too many people have ran with that lie.
Facts.
Nah, it's because he wanted them to draft Cam. Nobody knew Cam would be available. When did we pick Cam? 25, 26, something like that?
26.
26, yeah.
26?
Something like that. Yeah.
Nobody
No,
saw that.
25. We picked Sharp right after, I believe.
25
Sharp,
yeah,
and
Sharp
27.
was 29.
25 and 29? Well, so Cam was 27, right?
I thought Cam was 27.
Sorry, but let's
I think
know in
they
the
would
chat.
pick-
Probably got it.
think
When
they would
was
pick
Cam?
Jay already
Oh,
put-
Spice said 27. Spice said
27.
27.
He already put it up.
27.
Yeah.
He was invited to the green room because they figured that he was one of the top 14 guys to be picked.
Mm,
26 other teams passed him,
yeah.
or 26 other picks passed him. So he slid from they only invite, I think, 14 people, somewhere around 14, the people who they think are going to be lottery picks. He was invited because everybody thought he was going to be a lottery pick. So this has been before he was drafted. So he slid. Everybody knows that. And look, when it comes to him, you can say whoever they talk to say it's between his ears. The Nets coaches have argued since he was drafted about him, to the effect that KD, and I know this for a fact, would argue about why they need to keep him, why he needs to play.
Yeah.
He
KD
showed you in a number of games this season where he did things that they said no one has done before. And I know people are going to argue he's one-dimensional. Well, damn. The one dimension that he has is the most important dimension in the NBA, scoring. Do you think we could have used scoring when we were putting up 80 points against the Sixers? Or did you want that one dimension still sitting on the bench?
Oh,
Which
Nah,
he was.
Patty Mills can fill that void.
My God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Joe Harris can fill that void.
He would continue to go to these guys that wouldn't work. Like you went to Joe Harris. He was like 1 for 11 the whole series. I mean, it's awful. And there was, and like I said, there's been a lot of times in the season, and there was times in and obviously in the series where you needed a bucket, but we didn't go to Cam to actually go and try and get a bucket. And in the short time he did get in, he actually produced. I don't understand why you don't go to Cam in that game 4 if you need points.
There's no reason why you didn't go to him again in game 3 when he played effective minutes.
On both sides of the ball.
Game 3.
On
both sides of the ball. And then you just completely benched him in the second half. It's like, come on, man.
And that KD narrative that a lot of people keep bringing, KD was a GM. That narrative should have got killed when in the offseason this man requested a trade. He had demands and they didn't listen. They ignored his demands. They ignored everything KD said. He had no power. Like, you know how LeBron has a GM power? People thought KD had that GM power. He was making all these moves.
Let me add something to that, AJ. Yeah. Because since the summer that they won the gold medal together, from my understanding, KD's number one thing was get Jeremy Grant. I want Jeremy Grant on the team. They didn't get Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, they didn't listen to him.
He wanted Jeremy Grant in the worst way. They did not get Jeremy Grant. Going back to the Cam thing, you can argue about what's between his ears, fine. But look, for anyone who's played sports before, and I'm talking about on any level, there's nothing like sitting on the bench watching someone who you know you're better than, who you kill in practice, playing over you.
Yeah.
No matter what sport it is.
Yeah.
You don't sit there smiling like, hey, look at him playing. I just
Yeah.
busted his ass in practice yesterday. Well, look at him playing. I'm happy about it. No, you're not going to be happy about it. He's killing these people in practice, and they getting a chance before him. Look,
all right, but serious question though, Jay. Serious question though. Do you think there's a possibility he can be moved this summer, or you think it's?
I expect him to be moved, but it would be wise not to.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's in that. But let me add something. I think
Yeah.
it was Rachel Chubbs who just said it. When people talk about how great Sean Marks is at drafting, who's these great draft picks that he got? And that's a serious question. Somebody please put it in the chat. Who are these great draft picks that he has that are helping this team?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
because there are other teams who have great draft picks who fit into the timeline of making teams contenders, and all of them are not lottery picks. A la Draymond Green, who's a second round pick.
Yeah.
Every great pick, a la from Denver, Jokic.
Yeah.
He won a lottery pick. So, there's a lot of teams who draft, and they don't have to be lottery picks, who guys hit on. Who are those guys that we've drafted, since everybody says he's such a great drafter? Who are the guys who we've drafted that we've hit on who are making a difference on this team?
And I'm glad you brought that up,
made
bro.
a difference on any team that we've had.
Because we talk about draft picks, and then this is where I want to drop an article on this later in the offseason, but the Nets development is terrible. You know what I'm saying? We pick the guys, right? We pick the Karis LeVert, the Jared Allens, then we send them away. We send the draft picks. So we never develop the like Jay's saying, we never develop the draft picks that we got. People say, oh, Sean Marks is the draft wizard, but we don't develop any of our draft picks.
And it's interesting too, because it was like I've been saying this with like how our development is. It's like Claxton has shown the ability, like obviously like before he got drafted here, that he can do more than just what he's doing now. And I think that I truly think that he obviously could do more. But I guarantee you, if we drafted like a Herb Jones, he would have never shot in a 3 in Brooklyn.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying, because the coaching, and I see other players. I see these young guys go to other places and they just flourish. That's why I think this with the CT thing. If CT is moved this summer, I think wherever he goes and there's good coaching, he's gonna flourish, because our coaching is it's just terrible. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, yes, somebody see Claxton in the chat, but it took Claxton 4 years. What was it? This is his 4th year, right? 4 years to develop. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should have had Claxton working on his jumper and shooting shots in his 3rd year. I know he was hurt in 2nd year, but he should have been working on that way ahead than this year. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy he developed, but that's some of that is Clax's off-season training with other trainers, though. Shout out to Tim Martin, some of the other guys he works with down in Dallas and Houston. It's not all Nets, and shout out to Forehand Kelly, RFK. Coach RFK is a good coach too, but that's all. That was Claxton, him doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's more of him putting that work in. I'm saying, like, we draft picks, and these guys are not. They go to other teams, and they're developing better in different situations. Like, if Cam Thomas was in another team, maybe he would find him. What's the issue with Cam Thomas, right? He's a volume scorer that doesn't know how to pass, or he doesn't have his passing ability. He goes to another team. Watch he come off the bench, efficient scoring, playmaking. Putting him in. We don't even have offensive plays to put Cam into situations where he can play make and score off of. We just give him the ball and say ISO.
But that AJ, that part, and if anybody who says Clax, cool. Clax had a breakout year this year. This is year number 4.
Yeah.
He was unreliable his first 3 years, and we all know that. It's a shock that he held up this season.
Yeah.
That's why people are talking about him in the conversation for most improved player, because in his first 3 years, he missed so many damn games. He played just over 100 games in 3 seasons.
And don't forget, Jay, he was this close. They were this close to trading him. They weren't even trying to develop him.
They tried to trade him.
They tried to trade him.
I mean, come on, man. Can we stop that? And not last summer, the summer before last. They tried trading him. When his agent said he's not going to summer league, they tried to trade him.
Yeah.
And let me add that. When I said that during the summer, because that's when Spaces first started, I said that, and I said he wasn't going to Summer League. Y'all can go back. Billy Reinhart tweeted that I said it. So the Nets Daily tweeted that I clearly said it. For everybody thinks I'm always making something up. And they tried to trade him, and people didn't believe that they tried to trade him. And then, what's the guy from Yahoo? Jacque Fisher.
Jake Fisher.
Jake Fisher said the exact same thing I said in July. He put out an article in October or November that the Nets tried to trade him.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that in year 4, he finally showed something. Where all of these draft picks who are showing something like other guys do in year 2, who are usually given an opportunity. That's why, we were talking about it earlier today. That's why I respect Coach Malone, who they asked him, why didn't he take out Braun, who's a rookie? And he was like, how's he going to learn if I just take him out? Yeah. That's what a coach sounds like, who lifts up their players instead of saying, I know he scored 40, but we lost the game. Yo, are you serious? You said that out loud?
When Jacque Vaughn said it, I couldn't believe it. Bro.
What did Cam Thomas have to do to prove that he deserved minutes? It was like no matter how many 40-point games, like he scored 47 points. He had four 40-point games this year, and we had the audacity to say, Patty Mills, you get the go-ahead.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Imagine where Cam Thomas would look like on a team where he's free to make mistakes, and he's not just getting pulled out for every little mistake. Meanwhile, you have Spencer Dinwiddie, and he's making the same mistakes, but you don't keep that same energy.
Yeah. Let me read some of the chat. The chat is saying, they're saying Jay spitting right now. Shout out to E. King. Do you think Bridges trust Marks, and can Bridges be the leader? That's a tough situation. I mean, I just think Mikal Bridges is trying to figure everything out right now. I know, like, he was thrust into the first option guy. To me, I don't think he's a number 1, man. I think he's a number 1 on like a really, really bad team, and he's a number 2 on a good team. I don't know about making him the guy. And even Sean Marks said it in his press conference. He was like, can he be the guy for us? He didn't even sound sure if he was the guy to be in late crucial situations. Can you give Mikal Bridges the ball and he'll get you 10 or 5 straight buckets or clutch buckets? Can he pull a De'Aaron Fox? That's the thing with Mikal Bridges. I mean, he still has time to grow. I'm not saying it's over for him, but it's still a question where you don't know where the direction of this season going. I mean, this offseason is going, because it's like, if we're going to ship CT away, right, we're going to need – the problem with us is we don't have scoring. You saw it in the Philly series. There was 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. The Nets couldn't score. So you're going to give up away CT. You better get some scoring back, whatever they do,
we scored over 101 game, and it was by 1 point. We scored 101 in one game. And everything else you weren't scoring. And in the second half of the season, ever since we made the trades, scoring has been an issue. And a lot of times the offense is stagnant. And Cam Thomas is way better in a stagnant offense than a lot of other people that we have playing in the game.
Yeah. And it's just a sad thing, bro. Because we have no idea where this Sean Marks is going to take us in the offseason. So to answer your question, E. King, I don't think Mikal trusts him, but I just think he's just kind of feeling things out right now, where, I think he's just playing ball, and he's going to wait to see what Sean does,
He's in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, exactly.
And really, it's not even a honeymoon phase. For everybody who dates, he's in the dating phase, Yeah. Y'all done spoke a little bit. Y'all done texted a little bit, DM'd a little bit. Everybody feeling a little good about each other. You excited to hear the person's voice.
He just posted on the gram we back. We'll be back next year. He's like happy.
Right.
Yeah.
But you haven't gone through anything with the person yet. So you really don't know how you feel about them yet. That's when you know if it's a relationship that's gonna last or not. Don't get that new vibe going.
Yeah.
Fellas, we all see that shorty and be like, hey, yo. And then we start talking to her, and then you be like, yo, she get on my nerves, man.
Facts. Yo, I like Jay's analogies, yo. Shout out to Delusional. He said Cam Thomas needs to be on a lottery team to get the playing time and patience to develop.
I disagree. And I understand the premise. The reason why I disagree is Tyrese Maxey was not on the lottery team.
Nope.
Good point.
And Cam Thomas was still doing Cam Thomas things.
Jordan Poole's another example too.
It really comes down to coaching. If Cam Thomas was in a system where a coach could actually use him and didn't take him out for every little mistake, he'd be able to flourish. But the problem is, every time we put in Cam Thomas, it's like Jacque Vaughn expects him to be perfect. How is he going to drop 47 points, be your only scorer, and you're going to be like, well, we didn't win any of these games. When he dropped 40 plus 3 games in a row, he dropped 40 again in the 76ers game, but it's like, oh, we lost. Yeah, we lost, because who else do we have on our team?
Yeah.
He wanted him to not play so we could have scored 80 points.
It's the thing with the he's putting guys that are veterans and that have like been in the league more. He just automatically thinks, because some coaches, you'll see like what Tom Thibodeau did last game, right? He benched Julius Randle. Julius Randle is an all-star. He's a veteran, but he's benched him. We don't have those coaches that are like that. You know, they're going to say, oh, no, well, Joe Harris has been in the league. Patty Mills is a veteran, so I'm not going to trust Cam Thomas. And no, you put the players that are going to impact the game on the floor. You bench the ones that are not impacting the game, no matter what they have done in the league, no matter what star status or whatever status they have. You bench them if they're not playing well. It's just part of basketball.
Yo, AJ, can I say something? And it's funny because y'all are talking about, you just mentioned Patrick Sammy Mills, AM, and Joey. And for anyone who's been there this season, you can co-sign exactly what I'm about to say. And this is before the guys, the number 2 in Dallas and number 35 in Phoenix, before they were traded. It's been like this all season. 40-40 Club inside of the Barclays Center, right?
Yeah.
They have different sports figures and like performers who've been in Barclays Center. So they're like, they got a big Jay-Z picture in there, what have you. They have 2 Brooklyn Nets on the wall. Patrick Sammy Mills, AM, and Joe.
No, they have Patty and Joe on the wall.
That is disgusting.
They've had them. Those have been the 2 Nets that have been on the wall the entire season. Not number 2 in Dallas. Listen, I'm telling you, when you talk about being the faces of you would think faces of the franchise would be up there. No. It wasn't number 2 who's now in Dallas. It wasn't number 35 who's now in Phoenix. Patrick Sammy Mills, AM, and Joseph Malcolm Harris. Their picks up there. And I'm going to tell you, in Chubbs, you're going to feel some kind of way. Joseph Malcolm Harris's photo is right next to Jay-Z.
Oh, my God.
When he had the concerts at Barclays Center to open up Barclays Center.
Joe Harris?
Right next to, yes.
What did I come back to?
He's not no Brooklyn Nets legend. I mean, of course, like
serious organization.
Where they put Joe Harris on a legendary status like that on the wall next to Hove? You can't put him on the wall next to Hove.
You know, but you know what's crazy too? It's like every single playoff series. Where does he go? What does he even do? It's every single playoff series. How do you shoot 1 for 11? How do you do that? I mean, who are we? What are we doing? And we continue to put him in.
Hey, damn it, Rage! It's Brooklyn, and white people need somebody to look up to. Okay.
I'm sorry. Now, if I walk into a suite or a fucking club and I see Joe Harris next to fucking Hove, I'm flipping furniture.
That's goat status.
That's blasphemy, bro. You can't put next to Hove.
Egregious.
Can't put next to Hove. Let me read these super chats. Shout out to Delusional.
No, they're gonna think Joe Harris was the man's in the playoffs. That's false advertising.
No, I think everybody knows his status by now.
That's what I'm saying. But shout out to Delusional. As long as Vaughn is still our head coach, I refuse to believe that Cy and Marks are serious about winning, and trading for Dame wouldn't change that. Shout out to Delusional, man. Yeah, it's facts.
I want to talk about Dame now, or
I don't. What? Okay, did you let anything slip that I should know about?
No, he didn't.
He said
no. I did not.
No, we were just talking about Cam Thomas. We're getting over the Cam Thomas thing.
And how good our development team is.
I honestly don't. I'll just throw my 2 cents in real quick before you move on. But
you think he's gone this year, this summer?
I don't know, because I should have bookmarked this stuff. Like, just reading various things, like you. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays. And it's like, I'm not convinced he's going anywhere unless it's like something in a big trade for a big player. But I'm getting the vibe that Cam Thomas is going to stay, quite honestly. And maybe that's something Jay might speak to a little bit, but I'm getting the vibe that he stays. They don't move him.
I'm getting the vibe that it looks like an understanding needs to be had. Otherwise, he's going to act out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, there's going to be a conversation. Or did exit interviews already happen with because I know there's ones where they talk in front of everybody, but do they have more internal, like Jake, this may be one thing I don't know, but do they have more internal conversations that don't get
Yo, I didn't see a Cam. Did they have a Cam Thomas exit interview? I didn't see one. Do they only do that for like the starter?
They did that for CJ, they did that for Mikal. They did it for Marks. They did it for. I don't know if I saw anything for Vaughn. Oh, actually, yeah, Vaughn did one. I don't know if it was anyone else. Dinwiddie
but do they
one.
have? But
yeah, they have Vaughn.
Yeah, they had.
They had Vaughn, Clax. Vaughn and Sean did theirs together. Clax did his. Spencer did his. Mikal did his, and I think CJ had one on.
CJ did his, mentioning what he was going to do in free agency and how the team ended. And stuff.
That's another guy I think's not going anywhere, just from like some of the Instagram posts that I've seen with those two talking. It sounds like CJ's not going anywhere. That's the vibe I'm feeling, whether I'm right or wrong. But I guess that's my question to you, Jay. Do they have internal sit downs that don't get publicized? Like, do they have exit interviews with players that don't get publicized? I guess is my question. And if that's the case and they have one with Cam Thomas, I hope what you're talking about happens. Like, come to an understanding of like what your expectation is of this player into the next season, because he's definitely, in my opinion, has deserved a much more substantial role playing. But if you're not going to, or you're going to be wishy-washy with the guy and you're going to be like, well, let's see how it pans out, let's see who we get, like, then trade the kid. Let him go play. Let him go somewhere where he's going to get playing time and can develop his skills in the game. I get you can work on your game a lot in the off season and work with coaches and do different things, but like, he needs to be in the game.
Do you think Cam Thomas has like can he just this summer just be like, yo, I want to request a trade? Do you think that he has the same pull? Like, it's not going to be like, remember when Kirkman Forma or whatever on the Philly requested a trade and everybody just laughed at him? Is like, what if Cam Thomas does that? Are people going to actually be like, oh, our team's going to actually, like, is Sean Mark's phone going to start ringing, like going crazy?
I mean,
like,
there'll be people calling about Cam Thomas, not for Con Korkmaz.
Well,
yeah. I mean, why traction, but nothing that's gonna be like, oh my god, he's a hot commodity. Like this.
Well,
this is a second-year player going into a third year. We're talking about here. It's gonna have traction because he genuinely has potential and the skill is there. But don't think it's gonna be something that's.
Let's look at how the Nets too deal with players that are deemed problem children.
Oh yeah, they get him the fuck out of here. So for all we know, they could trade him for fucking Farrakhan Korkmaz.
Go ahead, Jake. Shout out to Duke of Quail. Which one is more important, drafting a big, scoring big, and a point guard, scoring guard, or just go for Dame? Well, that's actually a good question.
I don't think the drafting is more important because they've already shown you they're not going to play these young guys. Yeah. And that goes back to what AJ was just saying. When you talk about drafting, remember 2 years ago, they drafted 5 people.
Yeah.
One of them is in the rotation of the number 3 seed in the West and got literally no minutes with us. Another one who was drafted in the first round has shown he's not really ready to be an NBA player. They don't play Cam. They cut Zagorowski, and Raekwon Gray's not an NBA player.
Yeah.
And they just gave him the 2-way, which they most likely would.
And don't forget about
wouldn't be surprised if they rescind it next season.
Alondes Williams, who we just randomly gave a 2-way without seeing him play, and we cut him anyway. We just cut him.
And the one guy,
signed by the Hawks.
Yeah.
And Donovan Williams, the one guy that we all kind of thought like, hey, if this kid develops and plays a lot,
Donovan Williams, another one.
He could be a good, and they just let him go without.
So this draft, it's like Jay was saying, are these guys gonna play if we draft them? I mean, like I said, this draft, and we're gonna get into the draft. I got people coming on here this offseason that know they're gonna know some draft stuff, like real draft talk. But it's like, does that really matter at the end of the day if we see them in the G League or JV's not playing them, or you know what I'm saying? And this is a deep draft. This draft is gonna have some sleepers in it that are gonna Imani Bates, a couple guys coming out right in this draft are gonna be pretty good, and they're gonna be slept on, and then you're gonna see them on other teams grow like you usually do, like the Herb Jones of the world or the Jokic's of the world. You might see some guys,
and you still have like the Quickleys of the world. There's still like Maxies. Poole was picked very late.
Yeah,
there was a lot of late picks, and they're good on teams now. But it's like all of the picks that we use, like all of our late picks, it's like. And Cam Thomas has an insane.
He was a late pick.
Uprising. We know what he can do, but the way this team is, we don't play him, and it doesn't even make sense. Even the guy we can draft a really good player going in the end of the draft, but we won't play him for whatever reason.
Yeah,
well, I mean it's a double-edged sword, bro. You can see developing these young players has dropped off the map. Like it is almost non-existent. Yeah, did Day turn it around towards the back end of the season where we're like, okay, Day, like whether it was motivation, whatever it was that made him play better, where you were like, okay, at least you're somewhat serviceable. You saw Cam Thomas explode a few times this season. DDJ, you really didn't get to, I mean, outside of him playing like a champ in the G League, you really didn't get any shine at all this year with the team. So you really couldn't see too much about his development. They let Kessler Edwards go. So, like, honestly, even if you draft the right guys or the positions that you want, I'm still highly concerned unless they're going to make a drastic change in the offseason about player development and improving. If they just push the same coaching staff and the same shit that they got out right now next season, like then you have your answer. But I'm hoping
with the Dame situation, bro, it's like, are we gonna, because we're gonna give Dame's gonna take a lot. It's not gonna be they're gonna sell Dame to us for a little cheap 3 first rounds. It's gonna be
because
a bunch
he
of
wants
players.
To come here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bunch of players. It's gonna be a lot of draft capital, and it's gonna be a lot of assets that trying to get Dame. So are we gonna do that again with another star? And because we put Dame on this team, and it's going to be good, but it's still not a championship team to me. Like Dame's not going to win us a ring. If you have Dame, McHale, Clax, and you keep your core CJ, first of all, we're going to be in the second tax apron, so we're not going to be able to do anything. And even if you keep Ben Simmons, you're not going to even do anything. We can't buy no buyouts. They're going to take away some of our first rounds, in like a couple of years down the line, and we won't be able to get players around Dame to go for the chip.
And it's like you already saw, it was like obviously like 2021 was a huge shot of us winning the championship, but like you saw once those guys went down, like Harden and Kyrie, what this team really looked like. Look what our team looked like last year around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We had nothing. Once we'll get stars, and then we won't have the correct talent to put around them and end up losing in a sad way. That's just how it goes.
Well,
like we can never.
AJ, Rage, maybe you could answer this too. Worley on Wednesday said Dame will attract other stars. Okay, because the way I look at, like, if you acquire Dame, right? Like my mind immediately goes, then you need to get off Joe Harris's contract. You need to get off Ben Simmons's contract.
Yeah, I think Ben has to go if we get Dame.
Like Ben, to me, like if you do bring in Ben. And that's the other thing. What's it going to take to get rid of Ben Simmons if that's the direction they're going, right? And is Ben somehow included in the Dame discussion for money, right? Like you've got to make things match. You've got to be able to get some of this deadweight money off of the books in order to absorb. And it's like, even if you do that, like, yeah, like I like Dame, but I'm nervous for the money bothers me a little bit. The age, giving up if you have to give up a ton of assets to get him, he's only got probably a couple of good seasons left. Is he the kind of guy with the game that can develop? My other questions are, because I don't know the answer, is he a player that even as he gets older, say to 35, 36, does his game is he capable of transitioning in his game to some of these other players and still being effective to some degree? But then it's even at that age, you're paying him $60 million, which is crazy.
Yeah. And don't forget, this is the same owner that wasn't going to try to pay Kyrie his 5-year max. This is the same owner that was avoiding the Spencer Dinwiddie. Remember when we had the TPEs and we could have got Kyle Kuzma that trade? We could have got Kyle Kuzma. We would have went way over the cap.
We traded for what? Actually, we traded for what? A second-round pick?
Yeah. Same owner that's kind of been about the luxury kind of cap. So it's like,
hey, when it comes to the Dame potential Dame trade, was Portland rumored to want John Collins before? And the reason why I bring his name up is, would they still want him, even if it meant he was in a package like a 3-way deal, where Dame came to us? And I'm saying that because John Collins' value has to be at its lowest.
His stock. I was going to just tell you, his stock is dead right now.
Yeah, he's not having a good playoff series.
Yeah,
and he still has. Doesn't he still have 3 more years on his deal after this one?
Yeah, I'll check that right now
he's,
for you.
He's getting, I think, 20 a year or 23.
I still don't even understand
25.
why the Hawks never they didn't move off of him after this year. And the thing was, it's he's been having an off year this whole year ever since DeJounte. And the craziest part is, there's been rumors about John Collins wanting out and that they're actually going to trade him for years, and nothing's ever happened. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's still got 3 years left. 25.3 in 23, 24, 24, 25. He's at 26.5, and then 25, 26, another 26.5. So he's still got 3 years of a good 20 mil a year.
So Atlanta is going to have to attach something to get rid of him. I know the Nets have been interested in him in the past. Maybe they're still interested moving forward, but you could get him involved, because from what you saw in this playoff series, look, how can you bring Joe Harris back? And I know his value is as low as can be, but he's an expiring contractor. And for teams who are looking to have money for the summer of 24, when there are so many potential big names, I think Giannis is a free agent then. Jaylen Brown's a free agent then. It's a lot of names.
But Jay, that's why I'm kind of against going after somebody like that. Is one of the main reasons where, as much as I like Dame, that's part of because we've had a couple conversations in space, and Cash was there, and I remember saying him and I kind of agreed. Me personally, I don't want to go try to get a Dame. I don't want to try to go get try to find some big name that just kind of adds to it where it's not really moving the needle. I'm personally okay with if the front office and the team, the coaching
if the team stay like this. Right? If the team stayed like this.
I wouldn't say that it stays exactly like this, because I still think you could go out and get a better point guard. I think there's pieces you could add to this team that would be better and that are not going to cost you a ton. And you could still use your picks to get some. This is a deep draft. Go and do your shit right. Get a couple good players. This is all under the assumption that they know how to develop their players, that they're going to go make some better moves. I would love if they would get ready, try to dump some contracts, and be ready for that season that you're talking about, with Giannis being where I think the next 2 seasons, 24, 25, or is it 25 and 26? I can't remember. There's a lot of big name free agents. It's
24. The 24 summer.
24 summer, and then I think even 25 has some good people where it's why not build a solid team and be in a position where you didn't give up all your assets and you get off some contracts and you have money to potentially attract another star. That's at least my thought. No, I'm just saying that's where I've thought, because I feel why give up everything now?
I
then you
don't
can continue to
necessarily
build.
disagree with your thought. The problem with your thought is, how does Brooklyn Bridges feel about that?
That's true. I didn't think of
Because
that. Yeah.
you've got to make sure he's happy.
He's happy.
And
Yeah, and
he was just
and
in the
CJ.
finals 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was on a contending team in Phoenix. He went from finals contending team to being swept in the first round. You gonna tell him wait another year?
That's true. I didn't think of it that way.
the East is clearly getting better. Like, anybody who doesn't think Orlando's coming has not been paying attention.
This is probably the best. This is the best conference in basketball right now.
Right.
Yeah,
So
it's brewing.
people are
It's
getting better.
fucking
So
brewing.
you can't just throw that away. And let me throw this in there because I'll pop
I don't
up
know
out
if
a
it's
little
the
bit.
best conference, but I get what
Well,
you're saying.
I don't know either, but there clearly will be teams better than us if we keep it as status quo.
Oh yeah, we'll be a 9th seed at best if we stay like this, or maybe a 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 at best, in my opinion. If we keep it just like this and add the draft picks.
But I'll give some a little bit more depth to the Dame thing, and AJ and Saint will confirm this because we talked about this 2 months ago in February. Around the time that we traded number 2 to Dallas on that Sunday, and then number 35 to Phoenix, I heard that those were the top 2 targets, Dame and Trey. That's who we were interested in. AJ was so distraught, and AJ, I'm gonna say a few things in here, and I'm not looking at notes when I say some of this stuff. My memory is just that good. AJ was so distraught around this time. AJ went days without sleeping.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. Around the
am I right?
Kyrie. Oh yeah, dude.
He's right.
Dude, we were begging this man, like,
sleep.
bro, go to
I stayed
bed.
away.
Dude,
I stayed away for like 8
put
days.
the phone down, dude. Dude, I don't know how you did it without any extracurricular party favors. Yeah,
No, but
this man was
I say that because I shared with them that those were the 2 targets. And AJ was not happy about it. He was distraught about what was going on. And then who are we now talking about? Dame and Trey.
Yeah.
Those have been the targets. A part of it is because people look back to the video that they showed last week of Mikal Bridges dancing with Dame.
Yeah.
Dame has mentioned Mikal Bridges in other interviews. He's
really
close. Mentioned him.
Yeah.
Right. Like it wasn't a one-off. They've been close. And they're trying to endear him to the franchise. Who are guys who are going to make the team better? To be honest, both of them make our teams better, and both of them appeal to Joe Tsai because they're both box office. And he's not only, look, for me personally.
You think he's willing to spend though, Jay? Like he's willing to drop the bag?
Didn't they already come out and say that though, Jay? Or is that just speculation?
No. They were talking about last year.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought they said it again.
He's willing to spend if it's going to reap him
benefits.
Reap certain benefits of spending. And Trey is going to reap benefits, and so is Dame. Those guys reap benefits. Like a lot of us are like, the basketball play would be to go for somebody like Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones has sold no tickets in the NBA.
Yeah. Some people don't know who he is.
Some people don't know who he is. DeJounte Murray has sold no tickets in the NBA. Those are names of guys, who would fit. And if whoever the GM is given that opportunity, then they'll build the team like that. If Joe Tsai, and this is where people are like, what? Yeah, I just said something, but I'm not going to go back to what I just said. Joe Tsai took the KD trade for himself. And pardon me, he took the number 35 in Phoenix trade, and he made it with the owner for himself. Because a deal of that magnitude, he's going to involve himself, which is not what you want done when your owner gets involved in trades.
Yeah.
But he already knew he had money already spent for this season. So he didn't care about it. But moving forward to next season, what are we gonna do?
That's what I'm
And
saying, Jay. Because the tickets,
everybody,
Brooklyn
no,
Bridges can only get you so
you
much.
think the ticket, you think the tickets are going to be sold this year for this product for this
nah,
team
the
the way it
ticket, the
is?
ticket prices already have gone down.
Mm.
For season ticket holders, they've dropped the prices also. They know that it's gonna be a loss comparatively speaking.
Mm.
They know what it is.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, AJ, two super chats. That one from Delusional right there. Will Udoka coach Houston better record than the Nets next season? And then he had another one. Cy will be looking for a quick fix to keep Nets value up so he can sell by 2026, 27. We could only hope.
I believe that.
Oh wow,
And
that's a good point though. That might be a good
I
point.
believe that part.
hey,
Yeah, he might sell it to you. He might try to build it up, man, so he can get his bag and then be out.
then be I'll say this with Dame because obviously, I have the nigga in my profile picture. I'm all for it if he wants to come here. I'll say this. Yes, this draft is deep. Yes, it might be a good convo point to say, let's draft the players and let's try to be mid and let's build it up organically again. All I'm saying is a lot of this goes off of potential and hindsight. Meanwhile, you could get a guy that, while yes, at age 33, averaged 32 points and 7 assists on damn near 50, 40, 90.
Yeah.
And after seeing what Dinwiddie did at point guard, I know good and damn well that's a fucking upgrade.
Yeah.
Like, you can't convince me not. We can go on potential of this draft. We can use these 2 picks. I don't think none of them are going to average 32 points, 7 assists on only 3 turnovers, mind you, on damn near 50, 40, 90.
That's a fact. And Dame's going to jump double teams too, so everybody else is
and a lot of our and there's an issue as well, like you said with Dinwiddie, but our offense in general isn't good. And if you look at in a lot of these games, it's like imagine what we would do if we had Damian Lillard finishing off the scoring, and you had someone who can just get you buckets and will actually play.
Yeah, and I'll even argue this argument that he gets injured too much. We've sat through KD literally not being here for damn near months and didn't spit a word. We still willingly sat here and said it's gonna be okay when KD comes back, but arguably he missed more time than Dame this season.
Dame is not really like people call him injury prone, but he's not like he only had like one major injury that I like.
KD has been his most injury.
Yeah, like he's not really like an injury prone guy.
We have not uttered a word because we know how good he is when he comes here.
Yeah, you look at his games played like every season. He usually plays like a ton at almost every game, but then like just recently he's done like the abdomen. No, he had a torn abdomen, I think, last year, and then this year I think he had. Yeah.
The expectation, though, was that number 35 in Phoenix, that he's going to keep getting hurt every season.
Yeah.
They expected it. People may say it's a freak injury. Okay, it's a freak injury. Fine. The expectation is that he is going to keep getting hurt every season. And
when he gets hurt, it takes a while. Yeah.
Right. I'm not wishing injury on him. I only wish injury on one player in the NBA. And it's not him. But the expectation is that he's going to continue to get hurt.
Well, and let me ask you a question because you brought up earlier, everybody on the panel could answer this. If it is let's be honest, if Sean Marks, I don't know if y'all saw my tweet earlier of Sean Marks smiling, and I put out this does not look like the face of a person getting fired this summer. I don't know, Jay, if I'm right or wrong there, but I get the vibe that dude is staying. If it comes down to where Sean Marks is looking at the potential of pulling Trey or Dame, who do you want? And part of me wants Dame, but I look at somebody like Trey and be like, he's younger, he's cheaper. I'd rather go that route than the aging star with the huge contract, even though I may like his game better. What are you doing as a GM? Who are you choosing?
Are they similar packages?
Yeah, because
let's just say for the sake of
the
discussion, they're similar. They're not too crazy or whatever. They're respectable. That's Because I mean, both are going to command a decent package. Let's be honest. Like, neither team, I think, is just going to give that player away without expecting.
I think Trey price might be higher than Dame's because
Age,
Portland wants to get
contract.
age because Trey's a lot younger, and Portland wants to they're in that rebuild mode right now. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to give Dame up for nothing, but I think it'll be less than what Trey's worth.
And like you said, like Dame is older, and he has been in Portland forever, and it's clear that he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. And the problem is the Trailblazers aren't going to get any stars. Like they know what type of timing they're on. Like they know they're about to. They're
not contending in the West.
They're seeing Shaden Sharp. They're seeing Anthony Simons, and they're going to go that direction.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, if imagine adding the best point guard in the league on this team, but the thing is, if you add Damian Lillard, you got to say F the money. You got to make sure you get everyone you can.
You got to go all in.
You can't hold yourself to a limit if you get Damian Lillard. Because what's the point of getting Damian Lillard if you're not trying to win a championship?
Yeah.
Or what is the point of getting Damian Lillard if you don't do a move after that? Like, I'll say this. I would want Dame, but there has to be a move after that. You can't just add Dame to this roster and be like, fuck it, let's ball until 2024.
Yeah, because like what does our bench look like if you add Damian Lillard? Like genuinely, and you went into this playoffs and you realized how shitty our bench really is. Horrible. Awful.
Well,
you need to add more pieces. And I do think Dame could attract other players.
But is Josiah willing to pay? Is he willing to pay for that?
The problem is, who did he really attract in Portland besides like Durant?
Well, then go around the room. AJ, Dame or Trey. Call it right now. Dame or Trey.
Damn, don't let me. I'm not first,
right,
man.
I'm
Don't
coming
make
back
me
to
first.
you. Chill. Dame or Trey. No explanation. Dame or Trey.
No explanation. Trey, because he's okay. Yeah, Trey.
Like, all right, Rage. Dame or Trey.
Trey Young.
Yeah.
Damn.
Jay, Dame or Trey.
Let's go with Trey.
Mind you, because he's younger and he's probably easier to get at that point.
Yeah.
Compared to
Dame or Trey.
I'm gonna give a caveat, and I'm gonna have to
explain. I'm coming back to you, AJ.
Yeah.
All right, then let me come back to you, Jay. Jay, hold the thought since you'll explain. AJ, Dame or Trey? On point right now. Bam. What is it?
Damn.
1, 2,
okay,
3,
I'll give context. I'm about to give stats and to
I'm going Trey.
Yeah, please
Dame
give us
Trey,
stats.
AJ.
Give us stats.
No. Answer the question, AJ. Come on.
You gotta get context. See?
Come on. There's no. Jay's the only one that's gonna give context. AJ, Dame or Trey, right now. Off the top.
Man.
Off the top.
Y'all are killing me right now, but I guess I'll go Trey.
Oh, so we go. All right, yeah. Jay, take it away.
I'm going Trey, and I think his value is going to be lower.
Oh, okay.
Because
it is at all.
This is where I think his value can be a lot lower. Because I'm going to take John Collins off of your hands also.
Oh, wow. You think the Nets would do that?
Wow.
Oh, like a 3-team.
Their value was stupid low, just off of that whole fiasco with the locker room and everything.
They've got to attach at least a pick or two to John Collins at this point. They have to. That takes away from what you're going to get for Trae Young. You see what you have with him for the next year, and then if he's still terrible, because maybe he just needs to change the scenery. Yeah. And in that trade, you potentially kill two birds with one stone. I'm not saying Dame and Trae are similar players, but both of them can score. I would argue that Trae is a better passer.
Trae's a far better passer, bro.
He averaged 10 assists this year.
He's leading the league. He's been leading the league in assists.
Oh no, I'm not just talking about the number of assists that he has. I'm talking about putting guys in position to score.
Oh yeah.
Hey, AJ,
that's what this team needs. The idea that we'll trade for Dame, I don't think you have to give up so much more, but you're just getting Dame. I'm willing to take a flyer on John Collins and hope that he can turn it around because he fills a need. Before Clint Capella got there, John Collins was grabbing 10 rebounds a game. I was about to say who's the last person that grabbed 10 rebounds a game for the Nets. I already know the answer, and if I gave the answer, some you all might put me off the stream. Do y'all know who the last person is who grabbed 10 rebounds for the Nets? Does anybody in the chat know without looking it up? Like I literally know this off the top of my head.
Okay, is this pre KG and Paul Pierce or after in the mix in that limbo?
After, way after.
Jesus Christ!
You said average 10.
Yes.
Average 10 rebounds.
Yes.
Was it?
Was it Brook Lopez?
DeAndre?
That seems too easy to be Brook.
DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, it was DeAndre.
Oh my God. The guy we hated. Hey, AJ's gonna put up a poll for the chat, whether Trey or Dame. Like we're
DeAndre Jordan.
Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
That is embarrassing.
What? Since when? He didn't even
feel like we had our rebounder the whole time.
The 2019-2020 season, he averaged 10 rebounds.
Okay, no, he did. No, he was actually playable 2019-2020. He was actually
that's crazy.
Yeah. And to answer Delusional's question, like about the efficiency, it's like we know they both can score, and I know everybody Trey's kind of getting a lot of flack this year because it's how everybody the Hawks are doing right now and what he's been shut down. But this is the Boston Celtics. Like, come on. And the reason I think Trey is a better fit on this team is because, first of all, he's a better playmaker. He's a better passer. We need a point guard. And then him and Claxton on that pick and roll will be amazing. Then people talk about Trey's defense, right? Oh, my God, Trey can't play defense. But we have all the 3-and-D wings on this team. So you're surrounding Trey with a whole bunch of 3-and-D wings.
And like I've said this before, we have a team where we have a bunch of guys who thrive off being set up. Yeah. We have a bunch of guys who are going to stand there and just shoot shots. You can't really get better than Trey Young in terms of getting other players open, and you still have the scoring aspect. He averaged 26 a game, 27.
Yeah. I still love Dame. Don't get me wrong. I still love Dame.
Okay, or I have the stats. I have the stats here. Trey Young averaged 26 points and 10 assists on 43% from the field and about 33% from the three. Yeah. Dame, as I said before, he averaged 32 points, 7 assists on much higher percentage from the field, but like 37% from three.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much you're going for playmaking if you go for Trey. You're going for scoring if you're going for Dame.
Yeah, pick your poison.
You're also going for youth when you go for Trey. And
absolutely.
People, please understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying Trey's a better player. I'm saying that you don't have to give up as much. And to be honest, both of them are a substantial upgrade to what we have right now.
Yes.
Like
either way you cut it, you're getting an upgrade.
Take out Spencer Dinwiddie, put in Trey Young. Take out, say, what DFS, put in John Collins, or take out Royce O'Neal, put in John Collins. You're getting better. It's addition. You're just swapping out. You're getting better.
And the thing is, it's like how we've shown like how good are we really going to be able to upgrade if we get Damian Lillard like on top of him? Because we've seen like what our teams look like when we have our stars. It's just like what did our team really look like when we had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? We didn't have the supporting cast to actually win a title at all. And with Trey Young, he's way, way younger. You're not obviously you're gonna win more games and you're gonna want to win more now. But the thing is, you're not pressured to win a championship now. With Damian Lillard, then it's like you got to throw in everything. And it's like, who knows what can happen after that? We just throw in everything now.
Yo, Miami is about to come back on the Bucks right now. It's 102, 101. Yeah, it came back. Oh, my God. Caleb Martin just hit a three.
From what Rage just said, look, and what AJ was just talking about, I'm not saying whether or not Dame is injury prone or not. The reality is he's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
You're taking a monumental risk on that.
Let me just read Dame. This is Dame's games played the last years he's been in the leagues. This is starting from rookie year. 82 games, 75, 75, 73, 80, 66 in 2019, 67 in 2020, 2021, 29, and in 2022, 58.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't seem like injury prone to me, though. Like, I don't know.
At the end, but
He had an
Jay just
abdominal
said
surgery too. So that's
those
even
2
more
seasons out of what the whole time he's been in the league. He's been playing majority, at least 70, 80% of his games. 80, you know what I'm saying?
But
Over
Jay
80.
just said the exact reason that gives me pause with Dame is you are taking a guy and is like heading towards his mid-30s, and he's
true.
very expensive. And unless this team, this owner, can show, or Sean Marks can show that you could say offload Joe Harris, Ben Simmons contract, then I don't feel as bad, or it doesn't bother me as much. Because like I said, you put a gun to my head, I'm going Trey because he's younger, he's cheaper, gives you more longevity within playing. I understand he has his pros and cons. Dame has his pros and cons, but I just don't feel good. Like, and maybe it's the PTSD that's happened as a Nets fan for the last few seasons, where it's just like you're getting these players that cost a lot, and for whatever reason, they're not on the court. For whatever the reason, whether it's injury, whether it's COVID, whether it's their own like whatever the reason, right? Like, not placing blame, not saying you're this. It just, I got PTSD as a fan of accepting older, very expensive players that don't play on the court for whatever reason. Like, I want guys that are like Mikal Bridges, that are like these Ironmen. I get things happen, but it's like, I want guys that I know are going to be out there no matter what, or they're not as injury prone as KD has become. I just want guys that want to be out there that can play, that you can like. I just want to see the team get value, that they're paying a player, that the player is giving back that same value. Like, that doesn't choke us anymore, where we can't do anything else. We can't go out and get better role players. We can't go out and, and then how many times have we seen since this beginning of this till now, where you've had well over 50 to, I don't even know what the high point with Jay, you're probably good at this, where you've had 50 million or more worth of player just roasting away on the bench. Jay will probably come back, but it's like, think about that. Think about how much times we've had value of player just chilling on the bench for whatever reason. And that's what scares me as a little bit as a fan now, where it's like, hey, if you're really going to go all in on a player and really spend the money, like what's best for the organization long haul. I get Jay's point about making Mikal happy and CJ happy, especially they want to continue to win. They want to be in a position to win. Where is that happy medium? Because if you do get Dame, you still need if you want to be a contender, you would have to add somebody else to Dame that's either equal or slightly lesser. I don't know that you can.
They're gonna come for us in the comments too, because like Nets Nation hates Trae Young. Like, nobody wants Trae.
Oh, I don't listen. I don't.
Nobody wants Trae Young, bro.
But you're not giving me. You're not giving me options other, like, if you're telling me it's between these two, you're not really giving me.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying like Nets, Nets Twitter right now, like the general population of Nets fans, they do not.
I don't care because
I'll say this.
Bro, let's be honest.
I'll say this: people didn't like James Harden either, and this is not to take a shot at nobody, but there's a good portion of Nets and Nets Kingdom that, or not Nets Kingdom, but Nets fandom that think James Harden was right for what he did. So I'm not really taking, they don't like Trae Young, because guess what? They treated James Harden the same. And when he came and actually showed who the fuck he was, people were like, yo, this guy's fucking good.
And also with like this team, right? Like if you got Trae Young, but say you got Damian Lillard, right? And you didn't win a championship, rather than if you get Trae Young, us not winning a championship right now hurts us a lot less than if you get Damian Lillard, because obviously Damian Lillard is way older than Trae Young and has a lot less years than he does. So if you don't win a championship and you traded for Damian Lillard, that's a massive fail, because one, you didn't win a championship after you traded for the best point guard in the league, and two, where you don't have any more draft picks.
But let me ask you this: is either Dame or Trae? And yes, I did say his name wrong. I'm tired. Leave me alone. Okay.
Oh, read Super chat.
But is Dame? Okay. Oh, I'll find it. I'll put it up.
Yeah. I got it.
Is Dame or Trey really moving the needle that much to put us in contention?
Not by themselves.
No.
Yes. Okay, but I'm just saying if that's the big move you make, going
I think they
either
make
way,
us.
they make us better.
Yeah, I don't know about contending, but they might put us in that. It might put us in that top 5 or 6, possibly.
We'll be a playoff team. We won't
Yeah.
be a playing team. That's all I know.
We won't be. Yeah, we'll be a
So
playoff
I
team.
guess
legit,
my thought process on that is like unless you got those two, one of those two guys, and you added somebody maybe close to them, then you have something to discuss about adding somebody like taking Dame and then adding somebody else or taking Trey. But I can't. It's hard. What's up? Oh, shout out to Worley on Wednesdays. Do y'all think the media is trying to walk back the Dame to BK rumors by including other teams? And then, are you trying to say that like so they don't get in trouble for tampering, Worley? Is that where you're going with it?
Yeah, what is she meant to me trying to walk back the Dame to BK? No, they're not walking it back.
Hey, like mind you, he came to us. Like he
And
went.
you saw Coach Vaughn lie like the worst liar ever when they asked him about seeing Dame at the game.
Yeah, I don't think they're trying to walk back. I think because first of all, Hoops Hype, Michael Scala put a great article on Dame.
Oh my God, Jay, do you know you're showing your face, right, Jay?
I didn't. No. I'm gonna tell
Sorry,
you.
Jay.
No, it's good. Man. I didn't even know I was back. My phone died. But
okay.
You saw that Jimmy Butler shot? Yo, Jimmy Butler is going.
I did.
He's on 48 right now.
Oh my God.
He's 49.
51. He's at 51.
No, he was at 49. He hit that 2-pointer. 51.
No shot.
Playoff Jimmy is different. I don't care what anybody.
How are they doing to this to the Bucks? Yo, I thought the Heat were frauds. How are they doing this right now?
I wouldn't say they're frauds. Jimmy Butler is that fucking guy.
Jimmy Butler is
Giannis. We're talking about Giannis, Drew Holiday. We're talking about the Bucks here, bro. Giannis.
But Giannis
Jimmy has that aura that makes you want to play harder. Like he's
Giannis
just that
probably
guy.
Ain't
he's just that guy that makes you want to play harder.
Yo, Saint, can I say I don't mind showing my face. I just need to cut my hair. That's why.
That's all good. He's literally on there for like 5 seconds.
Fresh lineup and fade. I got.
Nah, I'm cutting it as soon as when the stream is over. But no, what were y'all talking about when my phone died?
Well, I was talking about just.
Well, answer the Worley's question. She says, "Do y'all think the media is trying to walk back the Dame to BK rumors by including other teams in the headlines or no?"
Can I I don't know who asked that. I didn't hear who you said, but one of the funny things about that is Chris Haynes, who's clearly Dame's mouthpiece, right? He tried to walk it back a little bit. Folks, I know these people have blue check marks. You got to know when you're being lied to. Like,
oh yeah, Chris Haynes. He did say that. He was like, "Oh, Dame's in New York for something, Adidas, or no, it was like a time
meetings,
thing. Yeah,
business meetings, and he has new music coming out next month.
Coming out. Yeah, he tried.
Now, for anybody who knows Dame, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Dame is very close with Sway. Yeah. Sway Calloway. I'm not sure if he's related to DeJour Calloway. Sway and Dame are tight because they're both from the Bay Area. Every time Dame is in New York area with free time, he goes up to Sway. Was he on Sway last week?
No.
Because he goes up to Sway every time. And he goes up there and he talks about his music. He raps on the show and everything. He didn't go up to Sway, and he just so randomly happened to be in New York. Come on, can we stop? And all of this, they didn't have a seat for him at the Garden. Why not?
I'm saying that's Damian Lillard.
Why couldn't they accommodate him? They could have easily accommodated him.
If you're telling me Ben Stiller, Tracy Morgan, Pete Davidson could get seats, Damian Lillard could get a fucking seat.
Damian Lillard can't get a $60 million man. Damian Lillard can't get a seat.
What's that, man? Come on.
At a certain point, y'all got to understand when you're being lied to. Like, come on now. Certain things can't be said because it would be obvious tampering. And the NBA frowns upon tampering. They know it's happening. They don't want it to be obvious.
Well,
But Portland has an opportunity to keep him.
Yeah.
Portland just needs to put the right pieces around him.
Yeah.
Well, 70 people, 69% voted for Dame, 31% said Trey.
I believe it.
The chat has spoken.
So the chat's what did the chat say?
The chat is predominantly Dame. They would
Okay.
rather
Oh yeah, I
have-
just see it. 69% said Dame and Trey said 31%.
One thing you also got to understand, Dame's brand will fit so well in Brooklyn
It
because
would.
Yeah.
Being a rapper,
Dame
other
time
stuff, yeah. Dame
is what
time.
Sean Marks thinks Brooklyn grit is.
I heard somebody say they wanted Trey because we all know that he would cook the Knicks.
Oh yeah.
Like that was one reason why they wanted
But
him.
He's
but
undefeated
that moment you can't. That series was unbelievable for Trae Young. That's another reason why it's
Yeah,
like,
that was an incredible
that's
trade
still
for Trae Young.
unbelievable. Like,
That was an
Bro, it
incredible.
takes a lot to come in because the Garden is literally, besides the Kings crowd, the Garden is the best crowd in the NBA.
he got spit at. He hit a shot, bowed down at the logo, hit the game-winning shot in game 1, did all of that.
You seen how Donovan Mitchell folded in the guard, seeing the Garden crowd? Donovan Mitchell folded in the Garden crowd. Trae Young came in there and busted the Garden crowd up, yo.
Well, I will say this: if you get at the end of the day, if you just get one of these guys and you really don't make any other move to add that really accentuates it and puts us over the top, I really don't think it matters in the long run. Maybe, obviously, you have more longevity with Trae Young as far as being young. Dame, like Jay said earlier, you are taking a gamble on an older player that's making a lot of money. Like, I'm not saying he's injury prone. I'm just saying when you do take players that are moving towards their 33 to 34, 35 year, like you are taking a gamble. Ultimately, do I think if you added one or the other, I don't think it drastically moves the needle one over the other. I think I've seen people in the comments like, which I agree. Like, I like Dame's character. I like who he is. Like, if I had to choose off personality, I would choose Dame. I definitely think Dame fits better with the vibe in Brooklyn. I guess just ultimately for me, it really doesn't. It just, if you tell me going into the offseason and one of these guys is announced being trading to Brooklyn, I'm going to be like, okay. Like, either way, I guess I would be happy, quite honestly. But it just, I think both come with some positives and negatives. And you just kind of got to roll the dice. Unless you're going to add something else that's decently substantial to put with the new guys that we got, and either Dame or Trey, and then add another solid piece, you move up a little bit, but you're not contenders. So I guess it really doesn't. Ultimately, at the end of the day, to me, it just doesn't. I don't know. I just
either or I'd be jumping up and down screaming.
Especially if it got rid of Joe Harris. If it got rid of Joe Harris,
that's never going to happen, Saint. It's just never going to happen.
Hey, I will tell you this: if for some reason, and some people like it,
they don't. Next to the hole
if you
on the
tell
wall.
me that Joe Harris and Ben Simmons are not on this team next year, I would be happy with just that. Even if we didn't get another guy, like if you told me we could get off those guys and it didn't kill us, I'd be happy.
Isn't it crazy throughout all this talk, throughout all the playoffs and everything that's went on, that we still have Ben Simmons on our basketball team making, $35 million a year?
And let's be this perfectly clear. Damian Lillard absolutely moves the needle. Don't be fooled because he played with Portland, in which, let's be honest,
he moves the needle, but how much
every
does
single
he move
one of those Portland rosters were fucking terrible. If you really compare it to the people Damian Lillard gets compared to, and Stephen Curry and Kyrie Irving, look at their rosters when they were at their peak versus Damian Lillard's roster. And this is after LaMarcus Aldridge left, and this is with CJ and without CJ. He never had a decent roster around him where he had genuine options outside of probably CJ McCollum and at times Yusuf Nurkic. Compared to Kyrie Irving, that had while yes, they were young, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Terry Rozier. Then he comes to Brooklyn, Kevin Durant, all these guys, James Harden, Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. They had much better rosters constructed around them than Damian Lillard. And if you're gonna sit there and tell me that Damian Lillard at one point had a better constructed roster than either of those two, I would love to see it. I want to be proven wrong on that.
I think he's had a good roster because he played with the prime LaMarcus Aldridge. He was just young.
He did. He was just young, yeah. And wouldn't it be crazy that he does come to? If Dame did come here, technically thinking he might.
But did they go to the playoffs that year?
I don't remember.
Yeah. I thought Dame's best roster was, well, besides when he first got in with LaMarcus, the CJ, the one when he went to the Western Conference Finals was CJ. Forgot which roster. But now I think that was like one time, right?
Did they go to the Western Conference Finals when he waved goodbye to OKC?
That might have been the year. Yeah, I think that might have been the year when he did the to bye to Paul George.
Covers it. LaMarcus Aldridge was a top 15 Bantam, was just as versatile as Draymond. He got sent home by the Nuggets with no Murray stopgap.
He got
Did
sent
you
home
say
by the Nuggets
fucking
with no Murray.
Batum was as versatile as Draymond? Can't fucking shoot. Nah, Batum.
Cover always comes
That's not
with
even
some
comparable.
shit.
That's not even. I agree with the
Cover
LaMarcus
always
Aldridge.
comes at me on
That's
Twitter,
not even
too.
comparable.
Yeah,
I agree with LaMarcus Aldridge's point. He was definitely at the time a top player. But to say Nicholas Batum was as versatile as Draymond Green, but number one, Draymond Green couldn't shoot. Even on his best year, Batum was probably a better shooter. And like what?
No, I think Dame definitely moved.
Him?
I think he moved.
Wow.
Jay, is there any nuggets you'd like to put in people's bowls to smoke right now?
I wanted to talk about. I meant to talk about this at the beginning, but I didn't. But let me talk about it now. And I think AJ just said something about it because somebody in the chat was talking about Coach Udoka going to Houston.
Yeah.
I just want to give some clarity. And AJ, Saint and I talked about it earlier. There's a misconception that people, and some people tweeted about it today, and they're wrong, that Coach Udoka would have been our coach if it wasn't for number 2 in Dallas. Number 2 in Dallas had nothing to do with Coach Udoka not being our coach.
Yeah.
Literally nothing to do with it. And for everybody who wants to blame him for everything, fine. Blame him for whatever you want. There's just no truth behind that part. And I'll just give a timeline of it, a brief timeline of it. Back when the whole Celtics thing first came out, I asked multiple people about it. They were like, "It's bad," but the Nets still want him. So
yeah.
I told people the Nets still want him. Then Stephen A. Smith the next week went on First Take talking about the Nets wanted him. So I beat him by at least a week. Fast forward, and again, I told you earlier that I'm really good with dates. I'm really good with dates. The Nets played the Indiana Pacers on October 29th. Now, people are going to be like, how is it possible that he remembers this stuff? Let me tell you how I remember. Because I almost got kicked out the arena that night. Sean Marks had security come stand by where I was sitting because I was ripping him and Steven talking about they needed to be fired. They were the worst. I was going off. Now,
that's crazy.
But I know my limitations because I wasn't cursing at anybody and I wasn't belligerent with it. So you can't kick me out the arena. You all did deserve to be fired. Now, people will say, that doesn't prove that you remember the date. No, I remember the date because my son had a birthday party. It was his birthday weekend. And we couldn't celebrate it on Saturday because it was the Nets game. The Sunday, he had a Halloween-themed birthday party at like a haunted house type place. So that's how I remember all of these dates because his birthday was on a Monday. Excuse me, Halloween was on a Monday. His birthday was on Tuesday. We celebrated on Sunday at this haunted house. That's how I remember all of these dates. On that Saturday, after we lost to the Indiana Pacers, and if anybody wants to Google it or what have you, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. We played the Indiana Pacers in 2 home games, Saturday and Monday. On that Saturday, we lost to the Indiana Pacers when people were telling themselves the Indiana Pacers were good and they were going to be a playoff team. Indiana Pacers were never good. They beat us on that Saturday. I went ballistic in that arena where they almost kicked me out. Fine. Post game, and you can check all of these dates. I remember the stuff like it was yesterday. Post game is when number 2, who is now in Dallas, got into it with Nick Friedel. They got into it post game. And that was a big thing. They got into it so bad that following that loss to Indiana, what did we start out the season? 1-5, something like that?
Yeah. I think like 1-5.
Following that loss to Indiana, Steven was going to be fired that night.
Wow.
He was going to be fired that night. But number 2, who's now in Dallas, got into it with Nick Friedel, which took all of the attention away from us losing that game.
Yeah.
But anybody who doesn't believe this, Google it yourself, and you're going to be like, well, damn, his story is making sense. They got into it post-game. They did not fire Steven that night. I'm almost positive they fired Steven Monday morning, sometime on Monday, before the second Indiana game. Between the spaces that Saturday night and Monday spaces, I told people on spaces and in DMs that they planned on hiring Coach Udoka. So we're getting back to Coach Udoka. I told people they planned on hiring Coach Udoka. Shams and Woj highlighted that they planned on hiring because Steven was fired on Monday.
Yeah.
They planned on hiring him. I think they mentioned it on Tuesday, which
Bro,
was
they
the
both
first.
I remember like they both put it out like it was a done deal. I remember because I went on
Was it on the
stream.
first?
It might have been.
I'm pretty
I gotta
sure
look
it was
it up.
on my son's
Yeah, we
birthday.
had that stream where we were like, oh, we're gonna actually have coaching now, this and that, and then
It was a done deal, yo. They both put it out. Hold on, let me look
I'm
it up.
pretty sure it was on my son's birthday, which is November 1st. And look, people going to tell me I'm now making up birth dates for my son. I'm pretty sure it was on my
kids had
son's
like
birthday.
12
Oh yeah, right
birthdays.
here, Jay. I got it. So I
Was it
posted
November
on
1st?
I posted on November 2nd. Woj gave me the update, but he did say it on November 1st.
And people going to say I'm making stuff up, but I remember
Yeah.
this stuff because I know when my son's birthday is. But I had told people that they planned on hiring him. Now, this is where it goes back to it had nothing to do with number 2, who's now in Dallas. That's when all of this anti-Semitic stuff was happening,
Yeah.
right? And Saint, see, you're gonna see how good my memory is. That weekend they played Charlotte and somebody else. Charlotte and Atlanta in a back-to-back, Friday and Saturday. And
Yeah,
then
I
the
remember
following weekend is when they played the Clippers and the Lakers on Saturday and Sunday. Saint and I met on that Saturday.
Yep. That's
Saint,
correct.
isn't my memory is
Well,
right
that's
there.
good. That's some, yeah. You ain't reached my level yet. You still got some years to go.
They got an excellent memory.
But and I say that because in between, because B had tweeted earlier and I replied and I said I would talk about it on Spaces. B had tweeted earlier about it being number 2 in Dallas's fault and what happened between November 1st and November 3rd. What happened between November 1st and November 3rd is the NBA stepped in. The NBA would not let the Nets hire him because Adam Silver was upset that Coach Udoka he basically violated the brand.
Yeah.
The NBA is a brand, and he threw the NBA under the bus with what was going on. No matter what truths come out about that, and I'm not vouching for or speaking about what Coach Udoka did, what he didn't do. He was given a year-long suspension by the Boston Celtics. Adam Silver was like, he has to serve this year-long suspension.
Yeah.
He was not letting him serve. Remember, they talked about us hiring him. I think we were 7 games into the season. So he would have a 7-game suspension. The NBA was not allowing that. That had nothing to do with number 2, who is now in Dallas. The NBA stepped in and he served his year-long suspension, and now he's hired because the NBA season is over. He served his suspension. It had nothing to do with number 2 in Dallas.
Why
Nothing.
did they not come out and just say the NBA suspending him? Is it because it was more of an organizational thing?
They wanted to put the blame on the Celtics, probably.
Never does that.
Yeah.
The NBA,
but they'll suspend players, but not coaches. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just suspending players and not coaches. When a team does something, if a team decides to suspend, the NBA doesn't get involved, like the Draymond Green thing.
What about the Kyrie thing?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The team decided what they decided, or the Ja Morant thing. The team decided what they decided. The NBA does not get involved.
But then how the hell can they step in and say, no, Nets, you're not getting Udoka? How the fuck can they do that then?
Because what kind of punishment is 7 games?
Oh, yeah, you're right. The season did just start. You're right.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And there was...
He just literally got suspended, and then, he would have came back right 7 games in. So it would have looked kind of weird, but yeah. Now you know how the NBA, like Jay was saying, he hurt the brands. So, and also with that, to add to Jay's point, even though the NBA did get involved with the Udoka thing, there was some behind the scenes that I heard that staff members, and I said this on stream before, when they said, like I said, it was almost a done deal, and they had staff meetings about Ime Udoka coming to the Nets, that there were people upset, women crying that he was going to be the head coach of the Nets. So you factor that in, then you factor the NBA stepping in.
And that was reported that there were people. It didn't go into detail, but there was reported that people within the organization were also not happy with.
It makes no sense though, because this guy was literally just here 2 years ago before that. So it's like, why are you crying now?
It's because of the potential of what he did. Well, no, but I mean, I'm not agreeing 100. I'm not, like I said, I'm not like Jay said earlier, but it also wouldn't shock me if somebody did say something in the organization that said like, hey, he did supposedly X, Y, Z. I'm not comfortable with him. You know, it just wouldn't surprise me that somebody said that.
Yeah. But there's no, from what I've heard, like Ime didn't do nothing like illegally, criminal wise wrong. He just cheated on Nia Long with a guy who was a guy's wife who's an upper in the Boston Celtics organization. That's what he did. I don't think it was a mutual.
Cheating on Nia Long is a crime. I can't lie.
It was a mutual relationship. I think it was a mutual relationship. Like she let it happen. She was going through it too. It wasn't just like Ime forcing it on her. You know,
there was no way that the NBA, that the Celtics planned on that they were letting him come back.
Yeah, they knew about it though. Like they knew it was going on, and they let it go on until.
But it had to come out, and it had to come out because it would have made no sense that they were getting rid of him, coming off of a finals appearance.
Yeah,
it had to come out. But that's the business of the NBA. And for everybody who's like, man, you found out this from somebody on the Nets? No, I know people work in the NBA also. Yeah. Like whenever they have All-Star Weekend, if I go to All-Star Weekend, I'll get tickets to the game. I'll get tickets to events that they're doing. When they have the players party, the NBA Players Association party, I go to that too. I know people work for the NBA. Like some of these people are like my friends in like real life. We know each other's families and things like that.
But Jay, does this give the people excuse for them not hiring Ime though still? Even though like at the time, let's say the NBA did step in, people are going to say, does that mean like it's not the Nets' fault they kept Jacque Vaughn and didn't hire Ime?
No, I would say the keeping Coach Vaughn, I understand that. The giving him the extensions, I don't understand. Yeah. There was no precedent for that. You could have just kept him interim for the next. And matter of fact, you didn't even have to keep him interim. You could have taken the interim tag off. You could have extended him till next year.
Yeah,
that would not preclude from firing him this summer.
See that right now. Yeah, and that's what before when we were having our discussion prior, like that's like the part where that's the part that kind of like where like I just that's the part for me that's the head scratcher where it's like outside of loyalty, what has Coach Vaughn really shown for where we were saying, hey, when we had Steve Nash, the Stars were winning in spite of his coaching, right? We all agree on that. And then Coach Vaughn takes over. Why, like, still winning in spite of the coach, but everybody wants to put it like Coach Vaughn was the reason why everything was like. And I didn't get that. It's like, what made you look at him in that situation and then say, hey, no, he deserves to be the coach until 2027? Is that out of loyalty? Is it because he's a yes man? Like, that's the part that kind of is a head scratcher. It's like you already stepped over this man twice. You had an opportunity to get the coach that was going to be the best coach for us. And then you backed away from it and then just turned to him and said, fuck it, we're just going all in with Coach Vaughn. Like, that's the part. It's like you already are saying to yourself, there's better coaches out there, but now all of a sudden we think this is the right guy. I'm interested in that transition.
They could have kept Vaughn as an intern.
And it wasn't even half of a season before we promoted him to head coach. I don't understand that at all with any coach. I don't care who it is. If it's half of a season, you should not instantly promote the intern to the head coach. It took a while, over half the season for the Celtics to do that with Mazzulla.
Yeah.
Why would you do that with Jacque Vaughn? It's like, and I've said this before, it's like asking the girl you've been with for a month to marry you.
Yeah, facts. We could have kept him as an intern, and then look at the coaching market right now. You had Nick Nurse on the market. You had Ime Udoka on the market. There's another coach that was on the market. You kept Jacque Vaughn as an intern.
There's better coaches, and his contract was extended until next year. You could have at least waited the rest of this year and next year to decide what you want to do, or you could have decided after this year, be like, hey, I'm not liking the job he's doing, and just live off paying his 1 year. It's 1 year. But now you got to live until 2026, 2027, and you're cooked. And it's not like, again, it's nothing towards Jacque Vaughn. I have nothing against him, but I know it's still not that big of a sample size, but there's still been a lot of problems with this team that you saw with Steve Nash. I know it's a new team, but there's some stuff that you can't excuse. And like I said, obviously I expected to lose the 76er series, but there are some things that are unacceptable.
You tell him, Rage.
Go ahead, Jay.
Rage, just from your example though, it's not the girl that you've been with a month. You've been in an official relationship for a month. You were friends with benefits for the last 5 years.
Jay's analogies, I fucking love it.
Friends with benefits is perfect.
And she was like, why don't we go out on dates? Why do we always watch movies at the house? Why can't I meet any of your friends? Nah, man, you a secret right now.
You a side.
You a side chick.
Yeah, because he wasn't in the Nets organization for a minute, but still, it's like the head coaching. You saw enough of that head coaching.
That analogy kind of fits the whole Ime Udoka / coach, but like that, I don't know. That's kind of that's an analogy that kind of hits home a little bit. Jay.
No, but Coach Vaughn has sat there and watched you get into other relationships while you told him you didn't want one.
Yeah. But that's like, to me, the biggest mind-boggling is you stepped over him twice as being the head coach, and you're ready to hire a better coach. Like, did he walk in the office and be like, I've had enough, damn it, you've embarrassed me? I thought it was the right move after they passed on him. Like, hey, he knows the situation. They obviously are still shopping. They know they need a good coach. Clearly, the players wanted a good coach. And I understood at the time, like, okay, hey, it's probably a smart move. Just let Vaughn take over. He's familiar with the guys. The guys do seem to like him. And I was cool with that. And I felt good, actually, about it. I'm like, and then, hey, off season, we'll go coach shopping, But I need to be in the room for when they went from that to no, he needs 2 extensions. in
Well,
this. And
I'm
that's the
gonna
part that I don't get, dude. Like,
I'm gonna add a nugget to it that will provide some clarity. That's a power play by Sean Marks, and it's a power play by Sean Marks because he now can say, "Why would you get rid of me when I hired a coach that's going to be here till 2027?"
Mm, yeah, doesn't make any sense, man.
Because what GM is going to want to come in when you have a coach in place for the next 4 years? And usually a GM is going to want to come in and hire his own coach. So Sean is saying, since this guy is locked up, you now have to lock me up.
Yeah.
fuck.
Oh, shout out to Callaway. She said, "I wasn't my wife's first choice either." JV said that. LOL. He did say that.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
I'm currently watching the Lakers Grizzlies game. Rui Hachimura was worth 2 seconds. We could have gotten him.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah. I've been
that
one
to
Rui,
me was their best pickup of the offseason. Like that was
one.
during the season. That was a huge pickup.
Pelinka, he should get GM of the year, man. He really like flipped his team. Like they weren't gonna make the playoffs. Like they were trash at the deadline. Like
They
it was
were
almost
heading that down that,
the season was over at the deadline, almost over at the deadline, yo.
You know how many people told me we should not trade for Rui? How many people I argued with?
I didn't agree with that
God,
either.
yo. I loved it, yo. I remember Jay. We was on the Rui, like we both on the Rui, yo. People were like,
I've been talking about Rui before this offseason, and people told me I didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah,
Rui wasn't the way to go. We shouldn't get Rui. Okay.
And he was definitely there to get him.
Two second round picks. You could have had that.
And Kendrick Nunn.
And Kendrick Nunn? What?
Yeah, and Kendrick Nunn. We
could
have given them Patty. We
This-
could have
this
given them
team-
Patty
This
Mills
team
in
never
2
even
seconds.
makes the little trades either. Like the Nets don't make little trades. It's just massive trades. It's Kyrie Irving trades. It's Kevin Durant trades. Why team, right? Obviously, like we knew what the thing was, but just in terms of making the team better, we all know that we should have, even after making the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving trade, we should have followed up with more trades.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We didn't make any moves after that.
Shout out to Luigi though. Sean Light Markle is watching too much My Little Pony and always choosing his butt buddies over professional.
Sean Light Markle.
Shout out to Luigi Dabber, dude. 457. That's might be the quote of the fucking stream.
Sean Light Markle.
No, but hey, Rage, he showed you last year he doesn't have a next move mentality, but he keeps telling Woj to put out that he has a next move mentality. Remember when they finally traded Quitter James last year, and Woj got on ESPN and said they're not done making moves. They're still shopping in the hours left before the deadline. No, we weren't. We were done.
It was like that was another time where Claxton was mentioned in trade talks, and he eventually put out, I think he put out a tweet talking about how he's safe, and he's like, I can't believe, I'm still here.
But he doesn't have a next move mentality.
We never, but the thing is, it's like another problem, like I said, and I've mentioned this before, is if you get Damian Lillard, right? How much more are you gonna build up and make your team good? There were things that like the Celtics did and other teams did to continue to make their team better. Like for example, right? Like the Celtics went out and just made a little move by getting like Mike Muscala in the buyout market. That's just a little move that the Nets don't make. Those are moves that the Nets don't make. They don't make little moves to where they continue to add to make their team better. They don't
got
do
Malcolm
that.
Brogdon in the offseason.
How did they get Malcolm Brogdon? And I even want to point out to the 76ers, how the hell did the 76ers get DeAnthony Melton?
Exactly.
They got Jaden McDaniels at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that was a great pickup for them too.
Shout out to Cakes Boo, J Podcast, right here, right now.
Jay's podcast coming soon, man.
Cakes Boo. I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find the time, and I am working on that. And yes, my face will be on that
front and center.
Yeah,
with a fresh haircut.
It will be.
Is there?
Hey, Jay.
Okay.
Sorry. I was gonna say, is there anything because I know somebody asked about the youngsters. Did we talk about them? We kind of did earlier, Brendan. But is there? All right, I'm going to ask a couple questions. Sean Marks, is he going to be our GM?
I do not know.
Okay.
And I say that, and I'm not going to go into depth. Saturday, when we got eliminated, I was under the impression that his job is not as safe as everybody thinks that it is.
Okay.
So I'm moving under the impression that until an extension is announced,
anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Okay. Question number 2. Cam Thomas stays or traded? Or being shopped?
I would say stays. Depending on who we trade for.
Okay.
And if the trading team wants him.
Right.
But just like him, there's nobody makes money around what he makes to make it make sense.
To make it work. He's a filler of some
But
sort.
But my thing is this: if you want to go out and get like Trae Young or Damian Lillard, there's no keeping Cam Thomas, right?
I
Why
don't
not?
know. Why not? Yeah,
You-
it depends on what.
I mean,
but it depends on what
the only reason I say that is because like, wouldn't
He's the most value.
if you're giving up a Trae Young or whatever, wouldn't they look to get Cam Thomas to help fill a scoring void?
It depends on how many picks I think would be involved. I think it depends on what other young player they may value on a roster.
I guess Damian Lillard. I don't see Cam Thomas staying at all if we trade for Damian Lillard, because I mean, that's just what I think, and maybe someone can tell me differently. But Trae Young, maybe not, but it still would make more sense if you got rid of Cam, if Cam Thomas were to leave. Just in terms of that team's aspect, obviously, I would like to keep Cam Thomas because we know what type of player he can be. But like,
I'm with Rage on this. I think both teams are gonna want Cam Thomas. Like he's like the only player. He's the only young guy on our team that everybody probably wants.
No,
it's either going to cost you a ton of
value?
picks.
Like, I'm just wondering, like, how much value does Ben Simmons really hold? Like, and then obviously like picks are good, but like, what good are the
They're
picks?
not just going to want just picks.
If the Nets don't hold their value, right? And the other teams, that who knows how good they're going to be.
Well, and that leads into my third question, Rage. Does somebody like Ben Simmons and Joe Harris, are they on the market?
Joe Harris, I don't know, but I don't see Ben Simmons staying. I don't know how you get Damian Lillard and they're still able to afford to keep Ben Simmons.
Yeah, and that's my third question for Jay. Do we finally see the exodus of players like Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Patty Mills?
Seth Curry's a free agent. He's gone.
Okay, good. Whether they
try
to bring him back, or do we look at is Ben Simmons like? Do we? Shout out to DC. Jay needs to do 2 bedtime story audio book voices. His voice is smooth as
Tennessee whiskey.
Damn near fell asleep.
Damn, Jay got the Jay.
Oh yeah, Isaac knows too. JBK can be an awesome doing ASMR videos.
Those videos.
Just whispering, and he'll do one for you, Isaac, and he'll just be like trains, subway trains in New York, and just
we'll say. Let me
like
modify your question because I feel like mine is kind of in the same viewpoint. Is there a chance this is another offseason where we do minimal moves, nothing genuinely groundbreaking, but changes will be made, or could this be an offseason where if it happens, if a star requests to trade, it could happen?
Are we just shuffling?
Yeah,
I expect them to request trades and to mention the Brooklyn Nets when they request them.
Okay, and let me add on to his question. Like, are we getting a role player shuffle? I wonder if we're getting a role player shuffling offseason from Sean Marks, or if he's actually going to look to make a splash. And I wonder, to add to your previous thought about making a power play, I think if Sean Marks wants to keep his job, he has to make a splash.
I'm gonna drop something. just because I just looked at the guy, and I I just said earlier when I clicked off my picture that I need to shave my head. I'm gonna add this. I've probably told this story before, but I'm gonna add it anyway. My barber, right, when I was in my 20s, I used to get a cut from him once a week, at the very least a shape up, because I was single and making sure that I was as handsome as ever for the ladies, right? At a,
Young Jay from UK.
one day he told me, he was like, "Yo, man, you need to let it go."
He told you
He
that?
knew, yeah, he knew he was losing a
Damn.
customer, but he ain't want me out there looking like LeBron.
With a fake headband that had
Like
hair sewn
Stephen A.
into
Stephen A. Smith
it.
barber got to tell him that too. Stephen A.
Right.
Ernie, all these guys.
My edges were leaving the party, and
Damn.
bald spot was coming, and he was like, "Yo, man, you just need to let it go." So I've been shaving my head ever since, right? Now, I say that to say this, because Saint, you reminded me about making a splash. Sean tried to make a splash last summer. And I'll give context. And I heard this from somebody with the Lakers. Sean tried to trade for LeBron last summer. If you don't believe it, I don't care. They were sure that LeBron was being traded to Brooklyn. And the package was somewhere, some of the names I heard was Clax was being signed and traded to the Lakers. Ben Simmons was going to the Lakers, and potentially Joe Harris also, as well as draft picks. He tried to trade for LeBron James.
Oh my
And the
God.
person with the Lakers was damn near positive that he was being traded to Brooklyn. And
Yo.
this was in July. June or July, I don't remember.
I remember there was
It
a
may have
time there was
been.
mad reports of Sean and Rob Pelinka together, and like,
Right.
remember we went on stream? Did we talk about it
They
on
had a
stream?
dinner together. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they had a dinner
People,
We did
together.
talk about that. Yes.
AJ,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because people thought the conversations were about number 2 in Dallas for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
The
yeah, they
Nets
thought it was.
were not interested in that in the summer. They were not interested in that. When they were talking, Sean was trying to get LeBron James.
Oh my God.
And I know that for a fact.
Wow.
I mean, everybody kept bringing it up, but there was no.
Yeah, I remember it was like a rumor and everything, but nobody was like believable. Like, there's no. I remember somebody put up like a Braun in a Brooklyn jersey,
Well, but every
and I was
time
like,
the Westbrook for Kyrie shit got brought up, it just never had legs and it got shut
It
down.
would get it would
and
get
don't
shut
forget
down
to
because
add in-
it was like, okay, like, Kyrie wants to go to the Lakers, but all
Don't
they
forget
have to offer
yeah.
is Russell Westbrook.
yeah,
Don't forget to add Scoop said a lot of things.
yeah.
Oh,
that-
let me add to that. Oh, no, go ahead, Saint. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, well, two things. Shout out to DC again. You're no longer Chubs, you're Cubs. Cubs, it depends if Marks is still here. No Marks, we go big. He stays, we screwed. If the side wants to make money, he'll fire both Marks and JV and shut the fuck up.
Facts.
All right, that's it. Chubbs, I need you to change your name to Cubs on the stream.
Cubs.
But, I mean, even Scoop alluded to some of the same stuff you're talking about, but I also got to give Scoop a little shout out, because Scoop was getting so much shit, and that's like around the same time I also got to meet up with Scoop too and have dinner. He came to LA, and we had a lot of interesting talks about the thing with Kyrie, and he was very adamant about what the expectations were, what Kai wanted, and people were coming at him saying, "Oh, he's got no source, he's got no this," and like quietly, not quietly, but if you watch, that man has continued to put out interview after interview with boxing champions, endless interviews with stars around the league, little video cuts of people like Curry stop and turn and, "Hey, what's up?" Like, people shit on that man's name that did not deserve it. That is a hell of a
He showed
dude.
us. Didn't he show you Kyrie's mother's?
He talked to me about it, and like
I remember he was like, "Yo, Kyrie's mom's in my phone." Like, he texted Kyrie's mom. Yeah, that's his agent.
He okayed for me to even say so. Like, even during the time when we, like, people were calling Cap about potentially Dwight Howard coming here, And he told me I could talk about it afterwards, the fact, because he let it out. It's like I was seeing DMs with multiple agents and players, and one of the ones I saw was with Dwight Howard, where Dwight Howard's very much like, yeah, I'm very interested in Brooklyn, and I'm waiting to talk to them. Yet later does it come out that Brooklyn pretty much said, hey, we're looking for more a stretch big, that you're not exactly what we're looking for. But it's like there were a lot of reports that, like Jay's talking about, that had smoke but didn't really take off and become a reality for whatever reason.
I have a question for Jay when you guys get done with this.
Hey, well, let me say this when it comes to the trading number 2, who's now in Dallas, for Russell Westbrook. The part that was never mentioned, it could never be a straight up trade. Never could be a straight up trade because the money was too far apart.
Yeah, we would have had to give it up.
They would have had to include Seth Curry or
Joe
Harris to make the money work because they weren't trading Patrick Samuel Mills-Am. They were not trading him. And the Lakers wanted Seth because remember this summer, what was one of the biggest criticisms? The Lakers got no shooting.
Yeah.
They wanted Seth, but that wasn't on the table.
Yeah.
My question was, because I've been hearing stuff about this. Well, one, Cam Johnson extension, are we probably going to get him back? And 2, I've been hearing that Royce and Dorian aren't safe. Is that true?
They're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only person from, the 2 people from my understanding who are untouchable, and really it's only one, is Brooklyn Bridges and
Clax.
CJ.
Oh.
No, CJ.
Oh.
Clax isn't untouchable.
Oh, wow.
CJ is not untouchable because he's a restricted. But they realize, even with quotes that they put out yesterday, these guys keep talking about being a team, a tandem, the Wonder Twins. The idea of letting CJ, and I say letting because he's a restricted free agent, the idea of letting him go and his best friend is right there, nah, that's disaster.
Yeah.
That's disaster. They cannot do that. Everybody else is fair game, depending on what the trade looks like.
When you told me that Joe Harris is on the wall in the 40-40, that kind of makes me feel like he's not going out. He's next to Hove. I'm like, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Joe Harris is going anywhere. I think Joe Harris is safe too. I don't think he's going nowhere.
Is Patty Mills returning?
He should. I think. Well, I think he is. He probably is.
I'll say I expect him to, and let me speak on him momentarily. But let me say this because it happened last season. We had talked about it earlier this year in terms of guys giving trade requests, and people were like, "Well, Cork Moss, they didn't honor his." Any Brooklyn net who's asked for a trade, Sean has traded them.
Yeah,
this is true. That's what we were kind of alluding to earlier with Cam Thomas. Like every time,
that includes Paul Millsap. And no matter how bad you thought he was, any Brooklyn net who's asked for a trade, Sean has traded him. Now, I'm gonna give a caveat, and I'm just feeling all right tonight. Last summer, and I'm mentioning names tonight, whatever. Last summer, Joe Harris's agents asked that he be traded, and his trade request was put in before KD's was.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And people are gonna be like, "What?" Yeah, because after we got swept by Boston, everybody realized it was a shit show. And they were trying to get away from this organization. Joe Harris would not ask for a trade. That's just not how he is. His agent or agents, I don't know if it's multiple people or if he's with a group or what have you, they asked that he be traded. And Sean would not trade him.
And he's been in trade rumors for a long time now, bro.
We're never gonna trade him, and it's like my problem is like what more does he have to show that like we probably shouldn't keep him? Like I know sometimes
Right.
That's why I said
he
he's
gets through the regular
safe.
season, but
That's why I told you he's safe. He's not
it,
getting
it's
injured, bro.
it's crazy too because it's like every playoff series it's not good.
Rage. Do you not remember the report that came out that, and this is when number 2 in Dallas was still on the team and number 35 in Phoenix was still on the team. When they were still on the team, the faces of the franchise, and the report came out that Sean runs trade ideas by Joe Harris. Do you remember that report
Oh
came
my
out?
god.
Oh, what?
That was an
So,
official report that came out.
Hmm.
It
Oh,
never
yeah.
made sense to anybody.
I think Joe Harris is gonna get his number retired.
Bro, they
Yo,
put him
I
next to
love-
Hove. How you put him next to Hove?
Yo,
I'm
I
sorry. Does
love
Joe
Joe.
Harris have a body on Sean? Like, does he know Sean is a hitman? What the fuck? What?
They put him next to Hove. How you put him next to
Yo.
Hove?
You tell me out of everybody on the roster, Joseph Malcolm Harris is the person you say to OK trades?
And put him next to Hove.
As a person, I love him. I don't understand their dedication to him though. I don't. And there are teams who have wanted him in trades because they think that a change of scenery will do him wonders.
Yeah.
You have to realize there are a number of people who, when they've been traded from us, look like completely different players, including Javon Mohawk Carter.
Mohawk.
Dude, okay. Remember when I said he could be like the way he's played in Bucks is what I thought we were getting, and I remember saying he could be a really good thing for us coming off the bench, and I was for sure. And then he went on to like make me look like a complete fucking moron, but then vindicated me when he went to the Bucks, and I'm like, where was this guy? Like, this is the guy I thought we were getting. Like, that's how I envisioned him playing for us.
That's the guy they thought they were getting. They
and
thought they were
he
getting
just
him
went
also.
ghost.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit anything. He couldn't do anything right. But he was a guy that would have at least, I think, semi-decently distributed the ball. He was a hustle player. He was a decent three-point shooter. I don't think he was that terrible on defense, correct? Like,
No, he's an excellent defender.
yeah, like, and then just went ghost, but then goes to the Bucks and goes, okay, now I'll show up. And I'm like, was it just him having an off season, or was it once again the organization, the coaching staff not knowing how to use role players?
Him having an off season.
All right, good. Then I wasn't
But
crazy. Okay, all right.
And it's hit or miss with the role players that we've traded for. Landry Shamet was terrible with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing work with that. Let me read some of these super chats. Shout out to Brooklyn Nets one. He said Dame soon. Cakespoo said Sage for Dame to the Nets and an AJ laugh and a Jay goodnight. Shout out to Cakespoo. Jeffrey, could y'all see a world where Nets send out Ben, Cam T, Dayron, Patty 4-1s for Dame and then trade the TPE for Nurkic so Portland gets off more cash?
I seen a tweet. I saw a couple tweets of like trade, because the trade machine is going to be fucking. Just get ready. If you're on Twitter, get ready for the most ridiculous Twitter trade machine.
Oh, yeah,
And I saw
Cam
something.
Thomas and so many
I
trades
saw
that they
something
want.
similar to this on Twitter as well, where people brought up the idea of being able to get Dame and Nurk. Did I say that right? Nurkic, whatever the fuck his name is.
Nurkic, yeah.
Nurkic. All right. I don't know.
Can we be clear though? And I don't know who thought that trade up. I'm not saying your trade is trash. The problem with that trade is Portland is not going to be willing to accept Day. They're going to ask for Clax.
Yeah.
They're going to want Clax and Cam. They're probably want Clax and Cam.
Yeah, probably, but you can't say, hey, you're giving us Nurk and you take back Day. He's going to be your starting center.
That makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm a Brooklyn.
Because I did read an article. Yeah.
But that ain't realistic.
He said, "I'm a Brooklyn Nets homer."
I think I also read an article too that was like bringing up the idea, or maybe it was the tweet, but they were talking like, imagine those two together, and I'm like, I was thinking like there's no way you get rid of all those players.
Yeah.
keep Claxton and get Dame.
Portland's
and
they're gonna want two
and-
things. They're gonna want draft capital and they're gonna want young players. This whole Ben Simmons and Patty, like they don't want no Ben Simmons and Patty on that team.
Why would they want any of those guys?
I mean, maybe to flip. I mean, but Ben's not
Okay.
expiring. He's not. They're
Well,
not even expiring. I mean, is Patty expiring next year? If Patty isn't expiring, they might take
Patty
him.
is expiring next year.
Then they might take Patty. They might take him.
But AJ, stay on the Ben situation let's talk about Ben for a minute. I know we're probably getting to the point where you want to get out of here, but this is the end of the season. Jay, realistic expectations for Ben this year, and do you think there is a market out there for him, and how much would you have to attach to get rid of him? Like, how does a scenario of Ben leaving this team in a trade look? Or is there expectations that Ben is going to return to somewhat of his all-star form? Or are we cooked with Ben until money are off the books?
There's expectations that he's going to return to form. His money comes off the books when big-name free agents are available. And his value has never been lower than it is now. You would have to attach picks to him. The reality is, and since we've talked about Dame and we've talked about Trey, he could play with both of them.
You really think it'll? Well, see, that's the thing. Picks. Let's talk about.
And
picks.
I was told they believe in Ben. Like I was told.
What kind of picks though would it take to move him? Are we talking multiple firsts?
At least 2 firsts.
Oof. Well,
Depending
what are you
on who
getting?
you're getting back.
Yeah.
The thing why is the way Rob Pelinka, the reason why he flipped Russ is because Russ wasn't expiring. Like Russ had a terrible contract.
Yeah, and you see the Jazz just bought him out.
Yeah, he wasn't expiring, so it's easier to flip. But Ben has a couple years, and he's getting insane money, so it's not as easy. I mean,
so basically, prepare for a season of Ben Simmons and see what
I was
happens.
told they believe in him.
I wonder, like, how much of Ben Simmons playing bad really was him being injured. Like, what? Obviously, his mentality does play a part in it, because like sometimes you'd see where he would, he'd be horrible the entire time, get turnovers and would play bad, but then there'd be this sudden burst of, okay, I'm gonna drop 12 in a quarter and not score anything else. Like that 76ers game was so weird when he randomly out of nowhere just started to score a little bit, and then it was done. And then, like, first quarters he'd do okay, and then he'd be done. But there's a lot of times where it's like he just looks done. And obviously there was obviously he's had his knee injuries, he's had back surgery. How much of him playing bad really is just his injury, and can he like really return to form? Like, because like I think an actual really good Ben Simmons can make this team pretty good.
He was hurt this entire season. The levels that he was hurt differ, but he was never 100% this season. At no point.
He did have the good stretch of games, like the 5 games, but then after that, it was the knee. That's what the
but
knee
then,
thing
but
came
then,
up.
but then Ben Simmons got hurt again, and there it went, completely dropped off.
But see, and that was the other thing.
He couldn't sustain it.
Yeah, and the other question, like, because I listen, I get it. Like, if it wasn't Ben Simmons, I think people would. If this were another player that was kind of an all-star level, that had a certain, same age, and he had this back surgery, I think people would probably treat it differently. But because of the facts, it was Ben Simmons, and there was already this aura around him of being scared and not being the guy that people like, and a lot of people already disliked him even when he was healthy. It just added to the drama even more. It's like, yeah, I have to think that there's no way you can say somebody has a back surgery, no matter what player it is, and think that it's not going to affect them. Like what, months later? Like when did he have? How many months was it from the beginning of the season that he had He literally had it right as the ended season ended, and then
not
how long?
6 months.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was under 6 months. And then we're expecting to be out there at full strength 100%, I think was unrealistic. But later, what bothered me and still has me slightly concerned was the knee issue. And I remember, getting into argument with Battle Pants about this, where it was like, oh, it's just the knee issue and it, comes on to later on that it's like, this is a knee issue that's been bothering him before the season or as the season started. So it wasn't just knee issue because of recovering from back. It is something that had been bothering him. And I'm even wondering about that. Like, is the knee taken care of? Does the knee need surgery? Because, like, you're not draining a knee and shooting it up if it's like it's just strained from getting back in shape. I mean, are you? That always concerned me too. So it's like you're dealing with a knee and a back injury potentially with this guy. What's the status on his knee? Is his knee going to be okay next year?
We won't know until nobody knows. We won't know until it happens.
The thing about like the back, obviously, like the knee is scary too because he ended up not being able to play the rest of the season because of his knee, right? Or was it his knee?
I think it was the knee and then
the nerve in the back.
And then the back, like we've heard about Michael Porter Jr. If I'm not mistaken, Michael did MPJ have a good season last year?
Nah, I don't think so.
And now you see where MPJ's at.
Yeah. And I think AJ
when they use him right, absolutely.
Yeah. And AJ, you even put out a tweet, I think, of MPJ kind of.
Oh yeah, he definitely defended Ben. Yeah, he did.
He defended Ben, saying like, "Hey, y'all don't understand when you have the surgery that we had." Like,
MPJ wasn't himself, like Rage was saying. Like when he came back, he wasn't really like himself yet. But this year, he definitely looks a lot better like himself.
So pretty much,
can we be clear though? A part of in Saint. I'm with everything you're saying. The problem I have, though, and it's not with anything you said, is this team does not protect its players. You know he's hurt. Instead of caring so much about what the hell is happening on social media where people are ripping him constantly, and on all these talk shows they're ripping him constantly, why don't you put out a statement saying, yo, he's really hurt? It doesn't hurt you to say that the man's really hurt. Protect your players.
And they threw him out at the beginning of the season without any kind of like precursor. It was like, he's here, he's healthy, let's go.
Saint. Not only did they say he's good to go, they had us believing he was ready to guard Zion in the first game.
That's true. That is true.
Makes no sense why they didn't say shut him down. Like Jacque Vaughn could have clearly shut him down like 2.
Nah, it was Steven. Steven was the coach then.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought you were talking about when we shut them down.
No, I'm talking about at the very beginning of the season. Our first game was a home game against the Pelicans. First 5 games was a gauntlet, man.
Oh, we got packed up.
Mavericks.
The Pelicans packed us up.
A bunch of teams, man.
Yeah, we got smacked hard.
But they could have been honest and said, "Yo, he's not ready yet."
Yeah.
Wow.
What does that hurt to do that?
Nothing. It was kind of the same way they treated the previous playoff, where they put it on him completely.
Yeah.
Like,
I wonder how much of his mental's holding him back as well. Like, but I gotta think like if you're playing hurt, your mentality can't be great.
No, there definitely is whether you're an athlete or not. If you have major surgery, whether it's your knee, your back, something that is of your motion, your arms, anything like that, it like you do go through a process. I've had my ACL repaired and I was still young and still active. And I just remember trying to get back into shape and get out there and try to play basketball and do other stuff. And I'm just a normal dude. You still do have a psychological aspect of like, gee, is my knee going to hold up? Like, should I put this brace on? Like, am I going to like tear my ACL again? Like, you do go through mental things about being able to be comfortable. Like, it took me almost a year to be fully comfortable back to running the way I used to, playing basketball the way I used to, being able to run I used to be able to run a mile in like 6 minutes or under. But like it took me a full year to get back to that. And I was still concerned about my knee holding up through that process.
Same.
I can only imagine what a professional athlete at that level, whether you think Ben Simmons is good or not, like still, like some of the shit that he was doing, like I could only imagine what a professional athlete goes through trying
and
to
then
get
and
back
then
to
you're
that
and then
level.
you're constantly getting ripped because you're not playing well through your injury. That's not really getting thrown out there. Like obviously, like you're gonna be hurt, but you got your coaches. But you got like you're not really like James mentioned, not protecting the players and not mentioning that he's actually hurt. You know,
The
like
front office isn't either.
Yeah.
You have Woj as your mouthpiece, and you're not saying anything about it. You can use Woj to say, "Yo, he's not good right now," and what
Yeah.
does that hurt?
You believe everything else he says. Why wouldn't
Yep.
you?
Saint, a part of what you're describing in terms of your healing, I'm sure psychologically, whether it be the doctor, whether it be friends, family, you need positive
Reinforce.
affirmations
Yeah.
that you're getting better and that you're
Yeah.
gonna be all right. You like we need that as regular people. You don't think he needs that as an athlete from the organization that he works for?
and
Yeah.
and then you have that, and then obviously he's trying to play through that injury. Obviously, like not playing well, and then I just wonder what it's like, and then because he's just seeing it and just constantly getting ripped on upon every single person, especially your fan base as well.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like I'll be honest. Like if he does get traded, quite honestly, like I'll be happy with it from this standpoint is that you get rid of somebody that is another potential risk and you don't know exactly how that's going to turn out yet, and you relieve yourself of things that you have to deal with, as long as it doesn't like hurt us in the process getting rid of him. But at the same token, it's like it sounds like he's going to be here, and as a fan, I just like, as much as I may not want him on the team or I'm just not a fan of his game, I hope he does get better, because it only benefits the team if he returns back to his form, right? You could say whatever you want, have your jokes about him. I get it. I understand them. Sometimes I agree with them. But if he's going to be here, I hope to God he's not just another guy that is consistently in and out of the lineup for whatever reason, health factor, and just kind of waste it. Here again, once again, you have a player making damn near $30 million and is not being able to be of service to the team and help us win games. Like that's my biggest fear out of any major character or player we bring on this team with high contracts is, are you going to play? Are you going to be available? And is your contract going to bite us in the ass in the long run because you can't be a relied upon player for whatever said reason? That I hope we can get away from that. I desperately want away from that as a Net fan.
As much as I agree with what you said, that highlights the importance of keeping Cam Thomas, because he balances things out. When you have someone who has the ability to be a high level reserve, only making $2 million.
Yeah. He's
That's where it balances everything out. You have a high
Yeah.
level reserve making $2 million instead of usually high level reserves making 10, 15 million nowadays.
Yeah. Even
Like
more
we're
sometimes.
arguing that Spencer Dinwiddie should be like a high level reserve. That's what Rage was talking about earlier. I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing with what Rage was saying. Spencer Dinwiddie makes $20 million.
Yeah.
A high level reserve that makes $2 million will balance out Ben making 35.
Understand that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Cypher with that last stat. He said MPJ only played 9 games last year because his back was acting up. So that does give me a little bit of hope that Ben might be himself this year. Hopefully.
But you never heard Denver throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
nobody was like, "Fuck this guy."
Like, why is Michael Porter not playing? Like, maybe like Nugget
Yeah.
fans, like only Nugget
And that's
fans.
another thing that can affect you mentally.
Shout out to Chubbs. Got to be up early in the morning. Got to dip. Love y'all. Appreciate you,
Dip
Chubbs.
too.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
We've been on for 3 hours. I just realized.
Hey, but you know what? We needed a 3-hour Nets Kingdom. I know we've chopped them down, but it's the end of the season. I'll just say this: I am beyond excited for the offseason, but also extremely petrified in the same breath. I really am. Like, I always get excited for the offseason and potential of what your favorite team will do, but I'm also petrified with knowing what's been done prior. Here we are again, once again. These will be my last words. Here again, once again, we find ourselves in a position with a lot of assets and some potential guys that we could trade. We're not too deep hole. Like, I think we still could be creative with money. We have a couple great trade exemptions. Like, we are going into this offseason with seeing some of the players that have returned that give us some excitement, and you have a potential to make that team better. So I'm excited for that, but I'm also very petrified of what Sean Marks and Joe Tsai's game plan is with Coach Vaughn as the coach, and what they deem to be the right moves. And are they going to overpay? Are they not going to make the moves? Are they going to look to bring back these yes men and give them bigger roles than they should? Like, that's where I'm at as a Nets fan. And I just, whether it's Trey, whether it's Dame, I'll be happy either way. Like you said, Jay, I'll be ecstatic either way. I guess the long-term effect of either having Dame or Trey is going to have to play out, right? We could speculate all that shit all we want. Jay made some great points about potentially getting a Trey John Collins mixture versus just a Dame, and then what does it cost to give up to get that? Those are all questions that are going to be answered, and it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. Well, you know what? I've been living by this, Luigi. I lowered my expectations drastically. Jay can back me up on this. I've said this in spaces so much, and especially after trade, I said my expectations are in the dirt, and I advise you as Nets fans to do the same. And I don't want to prepare for another disappointment. Is it back in my mind? Yes. But I'm not getting hyped for anything until I see it, to be honest. Like, I can't. As a Nets fan and what we've been through, you're going to need to show me the money, basically. Like, you're going to have to show me that you want to win, that you're a serious organization, that you're actually going to solve the issues that we lack in having certain types of players. Like, you can say whatever the fuck you want, Sean Marks, Coach Vaughn. You can stroke your beard, chew your fucking gum, fucking sound like a goddamn positive infomercial commercial. I don't give a shit, right? Like Bridges, like CJ, they all can fucking say whatever. Like, I don't care what y'all say. You gotta fucking show it to the fans, because the fans have really been fucked over.
Bro, that game 4, we didn't deserve that shit, bro. That was
we did, dude. We did
the way
not.
we went
I'm
out
sorry.
like that.
Nets
God.
fans
and game 3 too. Like, there's no way they brought us in like that and then just massive choke job.
Even some of my friends in the brigade were calling me like that was unacceptable. Like, fans that literally longtime fans that watched this team over the years, like the way the team.
I mean, God gives us his toughest battles. I don't know how we're still alive.
Yeah, like, listen, I don't care what anybody says. Like, fans are becoming this whole movement where it turns where, like, there's still some players out there that really value fans, and I'm glad to see that. But this whole movement of that, like, fans don't deserve shit. Fans, like, should just shut up and enjoy the show. It's like, dude, we're the ones that buy your preseason tickets and into the season tickets. We're the ones that are buying your fucking jersey. We're buying your shoes. We're buying all the shit that you do. We're the ones that are literally making all your asses rich. The least you could do is do something that lets the fans know that like this organization really wants to be a winner, really wants to do the right thing. And some of the players, quite honestly, are become fucking spoiled as shit. Like, yeah, I get it. Your skills bring you the payday, but let's not forget, like, don't act like the fans don't have a say or have anything important to say, or that their means like that they don't mean anything. It's like shit is a fucking annoying. Like in Brooklyn, I'm sorry, Josiah, if you plan on keeping the team, you need to fucking. I'm sorry, dude, but you just Brooklyn fans, especially season ticket holders, deserve.
Yeah. I promise you, the tickets won't be. If nothing is done, the tickets won't be as high as they were last year. Like it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be.
No
I'm
shot. I
done
don't know
with
how
my.
I don't know how you're going to get more ticket sales going from Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving to Brooklyn Bridges.
I'm done with my end season rant, so I apologize if I took up, but I've had enough.
But Sain is right, and like a lot of the stuff that he says, it's like you gotta show it first, because remember the talks about Ime Udoka, and he never ended up getting here. And it's like, oh, we're like, there was reports that were like, oh, we're gonna get Kyrie's extension, never happened. And he was like, throughout all this time, he's like, have your expectations low. And then I'm going into game 3 at the end of the game. I'm like, damn, we can win this.
It's almost like they're telling you all this shit that they would get you excited, but in the behind the scenes, they're already like, yeah, we trading Kyrie Irving. Yeah, we're gonna sign fucking JV to 2027. Like it's like they're telling you one thing, but they got their game plan over here, and the two don't fucking match up.
Like you said, and there was a report. Remember, right before the trade deadline, it was the Nets are gonna hold on.
We're looking to spend. Yeah,
the Nets are holding on to Kevin Durant, and he gets moved. Brian Lewis put out a report.
But it showed you that they said we're willing to spend and get better, and at the first hiccup of discussion issues with Kyrie, they pretty much draw a line in the sand, and then Kyrie says, I want out. And then they fucking, with a quickness. I've never seen Sean Marks move so quick than when fucking Kyrie asked for a trade. We've been wanting this motherfucker to act quick, multiple trade deadlines, or make certain decisions, and the motherfucker's slow as a turd. But the second Kyrie Irving asked for a trade, he's like, fuck that dude. He ain't going where I want. You know, you're going over here. Let me call my buddy, make a trade, and make it happen. And he made that shit happen with a quickness. So I'm done with all the bullshit. But anyways, I'll shut up.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Rage. Last words.
Well, this is gonna be the off season for the ages for us. This is gonna be an off season where I think you either go one of two ways. Like yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you get Damian or Trae Young, but it's like, who knows? Hopefully we can or if we actually keep our picks, we can draft. But this is going to be one hell of an offseason, and this is going to be very, very good for content. Besides, like obviously we were getting views with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, but now we're going to be able to reach our peak at the offseason with the stuff that we're going to be able to talk about, because there's going to be a lot of stuff where when we get into the draft, and who knows, maybe we get a trade at the draft. That would be one hell of a stream. So we got, and there's things that we have to do. You have to figure out where this is the year where we see what direction this team is going. So this is going to be a hell of an offseason, but prepare for the worst. Because if you prepare for the worst, you can't possibly be disappointed.
Yeah. You can go ahead, Jay, if you want last words. Jay still there? Maybe Jay left.
No, he's still there. He's probably shaving his head.
No, I have 3 things I'd like to say. First and foremost, I did not have fun. And for all of you who kept asking, who kept saying, getting rid of them, we're going to have fun. I didn't have fun at all. If you did, maybe you're a masochist, and I respect it. But this season was not my example of fun. That's first off. Secondly, Be careful. And I know some of you all are going to say, man, he done said some ridiculous things. I'm gonna add one more to it. Be careful of what you think of what Woj puts out. And I'm not just talking about Nets related. Yes, he is Sean Mark's mouthpiece and he says exactly what he's told to say. Woj is in a pay for play business.
Yeah.
It's like prostitution. And I don't feel like going into it tonight in full detail, but if you notice, Woj does not report on every team in the NBA, and
Nope.
all of the information that he gives, there's a slant to how he gives it.
Yeah.
He's in a pay for play business, and it ain't with the players. It's with the front offices and ownership groups. He is in a pay for play business, and he says exactly, and this is not just what Sean Marks wants him to say, other teams also. He says exactly what they want him to say.
Yeah.
And he's in a pay for play business. When he puts something out, there's a slant to it.
Yeah.
Thirdly, for everyone, I really hope they come to their senses and Cameron Boucher Thomas is on this team moving forward, because he is the exact type of young talent that needs to be harnessed and grown, because it took Clax, this is year number 4, before Clax really gave us a good season. Cam, this season, did things that no one else has done before. And instead of celebrating that, uplifting him, and harnessing his talents, you have a coach who's spoken down on him after he's given these performances.
Yeah, we lost the game.
He's 21. If we talk about, I know these are athletes, in what sport are 21-year-olds dominating? It's not that many sports. It's just not. Most sports are veteran dominated. He's 21. He has a long way to go. Now, I'm going to add something, and this is my third and final point, and it's about Cam. For everyone who said he has an attitude problem, he's a bad teammate, I'm going to throw this in there, and this is going to be my last thing. Cam Thomas is not the worst teammate, and I've named names before tonight. I'm going to end naming names. Patrick Sammy Mills AM is by far the worst teammate I have seen in the NBA from this standpoint. He's way worse than Cam Thomas. And he should not have played before him in game 4. If anyone has gone to a Nets game this season, whether at home or on the road, during timeouts, Patrick Sammy Mills AM, and anybody who doesn't believe it, I have videos, countless videos. This man has been throwing t-shirts during the t-shirt toss when the team has been huddling. He's been sitting on the scorer's table at half court looking at the Brooklyn Nets dancing girls dance when the team is huddling. He's been over here talking to somebody while the team is huddling. One of the games we played against Atlanta, DeJounte Murray was in street clothes. He's standing at half court talking to DeJounte Murray during a timeout when the team is huddling. I have countless videos of him not even being on the bench when the game starts, walking up with a cup of coffee in his hand. Coach Vaughn looking for him to come in the game. He's not even on the bench. He's back in the locker room. He is by far the most unprofessional teammate I've seen. And for everybody who's talking about he was Ben's emotional support pet in his veteran leadership, it's a bold-faced lie. You were sold a bill of goods, and I have countless videos. And AJ and Saint will tell you, I've sent them a number of these videos.
You've seen the videos. I've seen the videos.
They are real.
Yeah.
He don't be nowhere near the bench during timeouts when the team is huddling and going over plays.
Yeah.
He don't be by. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you how petty the front office is. They heard me mention it on Spaces without mentioning his name a few weeks ago. So the very next game, he tried his best to be by by the bench a little bit more during timeouts, but he couldn't help himself because there's at least 6 timeouts during the game. He would always wander off doing his own thing. He's a horrible teammate. You talk about you're looking for veteran. You don't play him because he's immature and you don't like his attitude. But the guy who you tell me is a vet leader doesn't even pay attention during timeouts, is not even there with the team when the game starts,
Preach.
is over here by the water cooler drinking lattes. Come on, man.
You
Quit
just
telling me
broke-
that the 21-year-old doesn't deserve to play because he's unprofessional. And you tell me of somebody who was put in the game before him, never mind skill-wise. But you tell me that this guy has played over him and he's easily the most unprofessional person I've seen. That's not what your veteran leadership is supposed to do. You don't want your young guys to look at him for vet leadership who doesn't pay attention during timeouts. Come on, man.
Facts.
I wonder.
may-
I
you
wonder
may-
if guys that got in a fight or whatever, like how fast he'd come to defense. Like you saw, like what Torian Prince did. Like
Not
you
at
made
all.
Kate. You made Cakes Boo really mad. She's mad at you, Jay. You talking about her Aussie. And for
Talking about
everybody,
Aussie.
just and if for all the people that like Jay's voice, all the ladies, like just know that Jay go. This is what Jay go look like after the show.
Yo, he's not doing that, yo.
Hey, he's not on our team anymore, bro. You can't get mad at me.
Yo, delete that. man.
KD's a fucking son, so I can bag on KD all I want. I'm just saying.
That's hilarious.
This gonna be Jay after the game, right there. He's
Oh
gonna
my
give you the
God.
same look too. He's gonna look right
Oh
in the
my
camera.
God.
Like, just play it. But shout out to Mark Rez. Having a crappy season is one thing, but now my Knicks friends are being more annoying as well. Sean do better do the right thing. Glad it's over though. Shout out to Mark Rez. But-
Shout out Mark Rez and Cal.
Yo, shout out to everybody.
yes.
Let me also give this as the last word. And I meant to say this on Spaces, but my Spaces was acting crazy the last time. Anybody that tells you on Twitter that they got beef with me, I don't have beef with them. I want everybody to be successful. I don't do beef. I don't know these people in real life. Yeah, I'm a father, and anybody who's met me in real life, they tell you, I be with my children. I care what they think. I don't care about what strangers on Twitter think. I really don't. I want to be a superhero to my children. I wish well everybody. If somebody tell you they got beef with me, they want to smoke with me, we not in high school. So I don't know what you're talking about. What do you want beef with me for? Because we have a difference of opinions on things
Yeah.
on Twitter.
Twitter
Come
ain't
on, man.
real life, folks.
Come on, can y'all stop that? I
Yeah.
wish everybody well. For the most part, there's some people who I keep asking, who raised you motherfuckers on some of these videos that I see. But aside from
Your most
them,
recent one of that dude running for president was
governor, one of these officers in North Carolina. My God.
yeah, where the guy's running for one of the thing, and he's a black man's trying to tell other black that they owe white.
We owe reparations because we're free.
Yeah, I was like, he did not like no, like what the fuck, like, dude, our cut. Yeah, don't even get me started on how fucked we are. Never mind, but that's a perfect "who raised you" motherfucker right there. But
Yeah. My last words, man. I mean, like I said, I'm just gonna go into this offseason like expecting nothing. Guess I'm going into this offseason. My expectations are nothing. Like I don't expect us to get Dame. I don't expect us to get any star because Sean Marks has burned me too many times in the offseason. So my expectations are nothing. I'm just gonna wait for the draft, see what happens. That's what my expectations are for this
and just
offseason.
critique later.
Yeah, I have no. I'm not gonna do because I get emotionally invested every offseason. I get emotionally invested, and then it just turns out bad. So I'm not getting emotionally invested this offseason. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you definitely can't stay awake for 8 days again. That probably,
Yeah, so
that probably puts you.
It's
put you
over
down.
for you know what I mean. It's over for me expecting anything. I'm just gonna go into the season and just see what happens. But I just want to shout out the chat. Shout out a couple people, all the day ones. Callaway. All my moderators, Isaac, everybody that was been here since the beginning. This is like we started this in November 2020, and going on November it'll be I guess 3 years now. And like I said, the journey is not done. if you're a real Nets fan, you're gonna get the content you want. And if you just enjoy us, you're gonna get the content you like. But just stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff coming. We got people coming from to speak on the draft. I think his name is Ryan Tannenhill. He's like a draft expert. Contacted him, so he's gonna come on stream and speak about who he thinks our best prospects are, who are gonna be the late steals.
Scotto. Don't forget about Michael Scotto.
Scotto.
I got Michael Scotto lined
up. Scotto coming? Yeah, okay. Scotto. We can get Scotto.
I talked to him about it.
Also.
Yossi, yeah, I've been wanting to get Yossi on here. Yossi's the salary.
So maybe we can double get Yossi and Scotto at the same time.
Yeah. So a bunch of content. So just keep your notifications on, because sometimes I know we go live in job videos, you won't be able to see them, but if you keep your noties on, you should get them. And then appreciate Cypher, man. Cypher is dropping really good content on netskingdom.net. The articles he's writing, we're dropping a Ime article next, I think probably it'll be out by tomorrow. So nestkingdom.net, there's going to be articles on there. Any recent news, any like drops that we get, we're probably going to put into some articles and put it out. We're trying to be a little bit more professional this year, trying to get out there. Have
another rebrand coming.
Yeah, another rebrand coming. So let me shout out some of the people in the chat. Yeah, Callaway, see you. JR, see you. Shout out to Worley on Wednesdays. Luigi, Mark Rez, I gotta text you, bro. Nafisi's daughter, appreciate you. Who else is in here? Dante.
Cakes Boo's been here.
Yeah. Solo Wing. Yeah, all you guys, man. If you guys are 100 people in this chat for 3 hours is crazy. But like I said, we love you guys like so much. Yes, Cypher, man. Yeah, so just stay tuned. Instagram, Nets Kingdom 1, and then all our Twitters are at the bottom. Chubbs is going to do Nets Kingdom Radio. We're working on that too, so he's going to get back into the mixes. So make sure you go on SoundCloud.
We might even throw a podcast into the mix too.
Oh yeah. So like I said, a lot of stuff coming this off season. So we're gonna try to keep you guys entertained as much as we can. Appreciate you guys.
Hey, listen, we all have. Some people have more knowledge than others.
Yeah.
We all have our opinions. Like Jay said, listen, I try not to. I don't have beef with really anybody. There's a couple people that annoy me too, but at the end of the day, it's like we all have our opinions and views. Me and Jay argued about the Kyrie fucking Ime drama shit
earlier today.
And we all argue sometimes.
And Jay's still one of my favorites. So it just, we all have our different opinions.
At the end of the day, we just know it's basketball, bro. And this Twitter shit is like. At the end of the day,
we want the net. Yeah, exactly.
This Twitter stuff is dumb because we're talking basketball. You can have a difference in opinion in basketball, but when you take it to the next level and talk about people's families, kids, and you want to fight, that's a whole different conversation you want to have. These people, these Twitter finger guys on Twitter always talk as, what I'm saying? It's just, we're here for sports. Me and Saint got on Twitter because of on Nets Twitter because we heard it was fun and we wanted to promote the brand. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Twitter was fun to us. It's not no people taking Twitter to life or death on Twitter. Like, oh my God, you called me out on something and I want to fight.
Or I've never seen you on Twitter before. You must be a bandwagon fan.
Yeah, it's people get so emotional on Twitter, bro. It's like Twitter is for funny tweets and funny writing and news. That's what Twitter is for. You don't gotta take Twitter so serious. It's an app, But again, so thank you guys so much for joining us, man. And we'll probably won't be on stream for a little bit, but there'll be content dropping.
No, so, we'll have our draft. We do a draft stream.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do a draft.
We'll put out something soon with Michael Scotto. We'll get Yossi. Obviously, when trades start cooking up, we'll have a stream then. Obviously, any big Nets news that pops, we'll probably have a stream. We'll have our draft stream. We'll have Maiko, Yossi, and if anything kind of comes up in the process during the off season, we'll still be putting stuff out. It's just going to be spread out a little bit more. And
I was saying we're going to put that stuff out. I was just saying for the recent time, it's going to because it's the playoffs going on right now. It's we probably won't get news until everything is
we lost all those stands. We lost all the Kyrie and KD and Harden stands. We gotta We got to build the numbers back up.
Oh yeah. I mean, as
All
soon as
I
we get a
ask is
star, it's
whatever
gonna be
star
bad.
we All I ask is whatever star if we do get one, and there's stands that come along with it. I hope they're better.
Yeah, like if Dame if Dame comes here, you're gonna see a whole bunch of Portland Dame fans, Damian Lillard stands in here. The numbers are gonna grow. Same with Trey. The numbers are gonna grow if you get Trey here. Like any star you get.
Does Trey really have stands?
Yeah, Trey got fans.
Yes.
Yeah, he got stands.
He does.
Yes.
That would leave their team and go to it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see fans, but like he definitely don't have. Well,
Dame definitely has stands though. Dame has stands.
Not like Harden, Kyrie stand level because that's
a different level. That's a different level.
Yeah, like you can't.
Trey hasn't been around that long to have fans like that.
I mean, he's got some stands, but like the Harden, Kyrie stands, like you couldn't even say that shirt looks bad on him, and they would, like,
it was emotional.
They would like come at you.
There was like people who like praying to Kyrie and Harden, like oh my God,
you're a god.
Yeah, like
that,
I work it's like it's kind of scary.
All right, appreciate y'all. AJJ.
Peace, everybody.
Chubbs, I know you out there, Rage. Julian, wherever the hell you are in Florida, wrestling Gators.
Taking.
All right, y'all.
All right, y'all. Peace.